Hello there, and welcome to The Night Owl, a show that we do twice a week where we talk about all the latest in pop culture news, TV and movie reviews, gaming news, and just the overall conversations of the day. For those who don't know, my name is Price of Reason, and with me, as usual, I have my co host, Professor R2. How's it going, Professor?
Going all right. It's been a busy evening. Lots to do. Watching the joint session of Congress with the president this evening, and trying to squeeze in some Daredevil here and there. Or after that premiered this evening, reading some news and whatnot when I have the time. So it's been a busy one today. Price. How about you?
Oh, it's been a busy day, and I don't know. There's rarely a dull day. I always say that. There's so much going on. There's just so much going on. And yeah, it's cool. I mean, I guess it's better for us that there's stuff going on than stuff not going on, but yeah, pretty crazy. So,
Yeah.
for
And just
starters,
I was just gonna say, fair warning. We got some severe weather going on here, so if I just disappear and don't come back, I probably lost power.
I
Just so you
understand.
know.
Well, we're wishing for you to remain with power. Hopefully,
Yeah,
it'll be
it usually
okay.
will be fine, but, yeah, 70-mile-an-hour winds sometimes will will get you.
I understand. Yeah, so I guess let's start off today. Definitely a crazy day, but I think that the main headline here is Trump's. You're not supposed to call it the State of the Union. Now it's just a he's addressing he addressed Congress, right?
Yes, yeah, joint session of Congress and his address, yeah.
I see. Why do they actually not allow it to be called the State of the Union?
I
By the way,
I don't know. I don't know. Maybe the State of the Union is something specific. I think that he only, I think you only do that when you've been around for a full year. So, like, if he does this time next year, it would be the State of the Union address.
I see.
But yeah, since he's only just started in office, it's not the State of the Union address. I never really understood all the formalities behind that, but yeah, it was a very interesting meeting tonight. Very interesting talk, and a lot of surprises. I thought tonight, kind of the same thing you usually would get with a State of the Union or with an address to Congress like this, but uh, I thought it went incredibly well for Trump. He's got lots of detractors, lots of people that don't like him. Obviously, people out there who are rooting against him for whatever reason you would root against the president of the United States, but they're rooting against him, rooting for him to fail. And I thought, for the most part, the opposition, those that are opposed to Trump and his policies, made some they made asses of themselves this evening, if you ask me.
I mean, first of all, there was that one guy that somebody in the what was it, Kivo? Somebody just said that it was the Kivo. Uh, I'm trying to do we can we see his comment?
Oh, I think you clicked on it and then you clicked on it again. Maybe try one more time.
Okay, I want to click on it.
There we go.
The
Yeah.
Geico caveman was kicked out. I didn't even know who that guy was, and that I've never seen him
That
before. His name
is,
Al Green. Al Green.
yeah, the Texas, rep, Ron,
The
Al
only Al
Green.
Green I know sings good songs. This was like the phony Al Green. This guy, but in any
Yeah,
case,
Al Green, less than 2 weeks after Trump took office, claimed he was, drawing up articles of impeachment. So
this is the guy.
he's a kook.
Ah, I remember now.
Yep.
So yeah, so he was doing that whole like big, things that he was.
Yes, he was standing up during his speech, right at the beginning, yelling at Trump, yelling about. You couldn't quite hear it, and in fact, at one point, while he was standing up yelling, the entire right side of the aisle stood up and just started shouting over him, chanting "USA, USA." So that was interesting. But yes, he kept standing up and waving his freaking cane in the air, and I believe he was yelling some stuff about defunding Medicare and Medicaid and all sorts of stuff, which is
Right.
all it's all nonsense. That they were holding up their stupid little ping pong paddles.
They had the
Uh,
paddles, it said Musk steals, and it said,
yeah,
like, "Save Medicaid," and
save
false, like,
Medicare, save Medicaid, and yeah, false.
it
And then
just
one of the members of the squad had a like marker dry erase board or something she was writing stuff on, called Trump a liar at one point. Yeah,
they're just
it's
so annoying, you know what I mean?
yeah.
And again, like, I don't know, this is just my policy, and maybe because I've always been, sort of independent or whatever it is. Somebody wins, they're already the president, that's it. I mean, at this point, like, just you just hope for the best and you hope the guy will be okay. These guys with their paddles and all this stuff, it's also, I mean, to be fair, the reason he was elected, a lot of it was because there was a lot of inflation and there was issues going on, and they did let a lot of people over the border. It's not that all of this is just some strange fiction. It's not like everything was great and that's why he was elected. He was elected because I think, and this is just my honest, objective opinion, is that a lot of Americans were just sick of what they saw and they wanted something else. Some people, I don't even know how much they personally liked him as much as they didn't like what was going on. And that's often the case in elections. So this idea that he's like saying, "Oh, we're back, we're going to do this, we're going to do that," and they're all sitting there whining and waving their paddle sticks, and that guy is like yelling and crying. It's too much, It's like at the end, there's like minimum. Just my personal opinion here. The minimum rules of behavior here. Even if you don't like him, you could tomorrow try to cause as much like political headache for him as you want. But in this setting, to act the way they did, I thought it was over the top.
Yeah, I thought it was really really ridiculous. And then, like I said, they kind of made asses of themselves with how they were acting. They had sort of indicated in advance that they were going to sit on their hands. Most of them were never going to applaud. They were never going to reply. They were never going to do anything. Now, obviously, there were some of them that, like I said, were holding their stupid little ping pong paddle signs. Hilarious. I hope they got a good deal on those because those were completely worthless.
They were.
Uh, then there were some others that were hollering things at him and whatnot. Most of the leadership was sitting and just not doing anything. Even standing up and applauding a kid with cancer, cancer survivor. Couldn't bring themselves to stand up and cheer for that kid. It was it was pretty pathetic, to be honest.
Yeah. I mean, there was a number of things here that he touched upon. There was the thing with the tariffs. I listen. I sincerely hope that this tariff thing will do something good. I think that in the immediate reaction of the markets hasn't been great, and I hope that there's sort of a longer game where it does end up doing something good. What do you think about it?
I don't know. The tariffs are a little weird. Um, I think that in some cases, they're necessary to try and help balance trade a little bit between some of these different countries so that we can help to rebuild some industry here on our side here locally in our country. Uh, in other cases, I think they might just be bargaining chips,
That's what I thought,
that
but
they're
now
putting in place.
it looks like they're actually in effect. I thought that he was doing all of this just to get like what he wanted from them with the border and the fentanyl or whatever it was.
Yeah, there was that, and then there were a number of other things. I think that he's looking for too, some other concessions and things. Obviously, he wants to make Canada the 51st state, so maybe we'll take the tariffs off if you become the 51st state. I don't know. It seems ridiculous, but um, we will see where this goes. Uh, you know, after some of these go into place. Obviously, yes, if things do move into place with these tariffs, that then once they're in effect, we will see some impact in prices. We're going to see some impacts in the market right away. We've already seen the markets, struggling, dropping, even just with the threat of these tariffs potentially going into place. The markets have been struggling for the past week or so. Once they're actually in effect, we'll see what happens, how long they're in effect. Again, if it's a bargaining chip that he's using to argue something
Uh,
else, I
the
don't
bar
know. It's
the
weird.
bargaining chip I have no issue with. Like, I just worry, I hope that there's a plan here in place. Generally, like, if you ask me in general if I think that I like the spirit of what he's doing, I like the idea that if there's all these countries that are sort of taking advantage of the U.S., which I believe there are, and he's trying to put a stop to it. Generally, if you ask me if I think that's good, I like that. It's just a matter of if it's for bargaining and things like that, it's good. But if he just plans to do it and start just an all-out trade war, I hope that there's an idea behind this of how it all plays out. You know what I mean? Because to do so many tariffs at the same time against so many countries, I'm wondering how this all plays out. I understand that some of it maybe is also a way of trying to bring things to be manufactured in the U.S. Maybe to kind of boost whatever is going on in the U.S. Again, not
Yes.
bad ideas. It's just I don't know how they all play out when you do it all of a sudden the way he's doing it.
Yeah, they, as you've said, as there's been some people in the chat have been talking about, like, it's a lot of it is there necessarily to say, hey, let's try to move manufacturing back into the United States. Uh, there's a lot of stuff that's been shifted overseas, but at the
Too
same
much, too
time,
much. Yeah,
yeah, I also I do have reservations, just personally, with imposing these kinds of tariffs, one, very suddenly,
right.
and two, on some of our closest trading partners.
I
I
agree.
do I do understand the need to have them. I understand the need to push some of these tariffs up on China. There's a lot of tariffs that they've put in place, the importing our goods. But honestly, we import a lot more stuff from them, and so they're uh, with the ones with Canada and with Mexico. Honestly, I don't know that those are going to have as much impact on policy between our countries, and at the same time, I just don't really see that they're all that necessary. Same with like putting tariffs on stuff from Japan. They're an incredibly beneficial trade partner with the U.S. And so just saying like, we're just going to stick tariffs on everybody. If you don't make your cars in the U.S., then we're going to. And it's like, but they buy so much stuff. We have such a great trade relationship to be like, "Oh, we're gonna put taxes on your car. We're gonna put tariffs on your cars because you make them in Japan instead of over here." It seems extremely silly to just kind of put those things out there. Yes, we need to rebuild manufacturing here in the U.S. Frankly, even with a 25% tariff, I'm not going to buy a car from an American manufacturer. They're terrible. So, you know, maybe from other company, if Toyota's making them here in the US, okay, but I'm not buying a Dodge or a Ford. Uh, they're bad
It's
cars.
sad because those cars used to be considered good. But before we
They were.
continue, Mars Monkey Max is saying China is taking advantage of us, but they're not the biggest problem. The corporations are the problem. They're exporting labor to get gains, but they also compromise our technologies by doing so. I think it's an interesting point.
It's true.
Uh, some things also are not easily solved. I don't know. Sometimes when you do so much at a quick pace like he's doing, I wonder if it's going to get the outcome that he wants. But yeah, when it comes to Canada and Mexico, I don't know if that is going to make as much of a difference. But yes, there's other countries that if he starts a trade war with them, a more heavy one, it will have implications. And as
Yeah.
for cars, I think that these days I mean, it used to be that when Japan started making cars, people kind of looked at those cars as flimsy and crappy, you know what I mean? And the American cars were like the good cars. And I honestly feel like over the years, those Japanese guys, they work hard and they've flipped the script. Like today,
Mhm.
if you get like a Honda or a Toyota, those are pretty reliable cars.
Yeah, yeah,
We're
yeah, someone in the, chat, Mafia Matters, was saying that, yeah, they're adding some Honda plants to make some more cars here in the United States. Honestly, a lot of what happens is with some of these other manufacturers is that they make all the parts somewhere else, and then they ship them over here and just stick them together.
Sean Green is saying this is CNN. No, we're not CNN. I mean, we're not saying that there's no point in tariffs or it's not a good idea. We were just kind of contemplating if the speed and the amount of them, what the short term effect is going to be, or even the
Yeah,
long term. So I'm hoping for the best. I'm not a CNN. It's not that I'm saying like, oh, it's all crap. I'm just
yeah.
hopeful that the plan. Obviously, there's a plan here, and I'm hoping that the plan will work. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, and actually, Sean, he is Sean Green says he's not tariffing Japan. Actually, not there's not a broad tariff. There is very specifically a tariff for vehicles that are manufactured overseas that will apply to vehicles that are built in Japan. So specifically, some of the, in fact, just about all of the models of Mazdas are made outside the U.S. and there's quite a few for some of the other Japanese manufacturers, Korean manufacturers that are also made outside of the United States, and so those all would receive the tariffs. And so you could imagine, specifically like a company like a Mazda trying to compete, in a very competitive market where honestly a lot of these companies are struggling right now, that suddenly, a Mazda costs 25% more than all the other comparable vehicles, or they're able to make significantly less profit.
Folsom Lockdown is saying plus Toyota already has plans in the US.
They do.
And,
Yeah.
when it comes to us, I can only say about myself. I try to just we have conversations that as we would if we were just hanging out and just having a conversation. Generally speaking, I was for the change. That Trump is presumably bringing, and
Mhm.
I also don't necessarily. I was saying I don't dislike the spirit and the idea of what he's doing, but sometimes you do something, and especially when you act quickly, you don't 100% know how it's going to play out. Of course, I'm
Mhm.
hoping that it'll play out well, but just talking about it and saying that hey, if sometimes you have concerns or thoughts or whatever, I think that's being honest. I just
Sure.
I'm not shilling on one hand, and on the other hand, I'm not attacking.
Yeah.
Obviously, my desire is that Trump succeeds and that it works great for America and it improves the economy overall and it does great things. That's what I want. And yeah, I mean, it's not like I'm not attacking anybody, but
Yeah. Yeah.
it's okay also.
We're just talking through the issues, and we're to hear back from the chat as well to hear what your feelings are about these things.
The
Real quickly. Oh no, go ahead.
The dead man says, Biden did keep some tariffs on China.
He sure
Yeah,
did.
yeah, I mean,
He sure
at the
did.
time, all I know is, I mean, if we're looking at last time, when Trump did some of these tariffs, I remember all day and all night the mainstream media explained how these tariffs were the stupidest thing that ever happened, and they don't help and they're not good. And then suddenly it looked like they actually did something, and when Biden came along, he didn't even bother to cancel a lot of them. So this thing that they were all claiming was the stupidest thing they ever heard, they seem to not think that later. And I don't think that they're stupid. My only concern, and what I was telling the professor is that sometimes he came in and he was said it today in his speech. Within the first 43 days, he has done a lot of things. Doing
Yeah.
sometimes stuff, so much of it at the same time in such a quick time window. Sometimes it's almost like it has one out of two effects. Either everybody falls into line and it works out the way you want. Sometimes maybe it's a bit too fast, and I hope that it'll work out in the best possible way. I really do. But
Yeah.
talking about things is not a bad thing, I think.
No, it's always a good thing. So we do have a couple of super chats already over on YouTube. So the Dead Man for $5, also a member of the channel. So thank you, the Dead Man. Says, I kept waiting for Trump to declare that he was reforming the Republic into the first galactic empire. Okay. Uh, and then we have one from Beep Bop Boop for £4.99, £4 99. Yeah. Hey guys, longtime viewer, first time super chatter. I'm sorry, but if you can't get up and applaud a child cancer survivor, you are subhuman, in my opinion. Well, it's certainly not a good look, Beep Bop Boop. And again, thank you for the super chat and thanks for watching.
It's like in an effort to kind of seem like they're edgy and they're like against him. I think that what I saw from the Democrats looked very petty. You know, I know that we live in divisive times and things like that, but I remember that was like the minimum that people sit there and just do the minimum, pretend that they're sort of clapping or whatever. I think that this display of whatever that looked like today, they may think that they're looking great by doing it. In my opinion, they looked very small. That's the way I see it. It's
Yeah.
like ever since Trump won, instead of I don't really care because I think that party has really gone off the deep end and has become very extreme to the left. But I'm saying if they were actually effective, if they really cared about their base or whatever their party, I think that they would focus more on talking about issues and how they would do something different. What I get all the time since he got elected is major, just like, have you ever seen, Who Framed Roger Rabbit, Professor?
Oh, of course.
Do you remember Baby Herman?
Yes.
That's what, like, exactly.
Wah!
That's what the Democrats look like to me, and I think that it's over the top. Like, just be professional and try. For here you come, you sit there. You don't like him. You don't want to clap. You do want to clap. Just sit there and shut up. And then I guess like tomorrow, if you have things you want to propose, if you think you can do something better, do it. And the things that they got upset about, one thing he's like, "Oh, I won the popular vote." He did win the popular vote. I don't know what they were whining about. They're like, "Blah, blah, blah." The Al Green guy. That's when he like lost his shit. It's like he's saying, "Sorry, Sean." He's saying like, "I won the popular vote," and that Al Green guy is getting up and like waving his cane and yelling. It's like, what are you yelling about? He won. He did win all the swing states. He did win the electoral college. He did win the popular vote. He he the Congress and the House and
And
everything like
he expanded his margins in basically every single category, including many that are considered to be stalwart voters for the Democrats, including, the black community, the Latino community. He expanded his margins in all of those areas. This was not just more white people voted. That's what they want you to think, right? They want you to just think, well, more uneducated white people came out and voted this time than usual. And that's not the case.
first of
He
all,
has invited a lot of people into the party, saying that he's going to support them and going to make sure that they have a place in America, not pushing them out to make room for a whole bunch of illegal, people that were brought into the country. So,
I mean,
yeah.
first of all, even if let's say Trump won all of these things because he brought more white people or whatever it is that they're claiming, even that is still a victory. That means that there's a good amount of them and they voted for him. Although we both know that's not even the case. The part that they're really not speaking about is that he got an increase in every demographic that's just, these different groups, every single one he got an increase. I think he got an increase with Latinos, significant. I think, and a lot of them voted for him. I'm not sure if it's male, like the majority of Latino voters voted for him. I think, if I recall, maybe I'm wrong, but I thought so. At least a lot of them voted for him. There was even an increase when people said it was impossible, like with the African American, like black community. Uh, a lot of them. I'm not saying that one still had a lot going for Kamala, but he did get much more than anybody expected from that as well. And I think that like I would say that there was the Amish. There, I think some Jewish people and Jewish communities that may not have been happy with Biden and how he was handling that whole war in the Middle East. I think that they kind of shifted to Trump. There were a lot of things that happened, and at the end, the results are whatever they are. I mean, they keep saying. Remember he was running, they kept saying he was a threat to democracy. Do you remember that?
Mhm.
Well, I mean, he got elected fair and square all across the board. So now, if they keep pretending that he's not the president, it's false or whatever it is, and they're whining all the time and crying, trying to impeach him, and just doing all this weird crap all the time, they're the ones that are not respecting democracy.
They're the resistance.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's one. Let's resisting what he just started. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
And really, the thing that I guess is strange to me. So what? They wanted millions of people to keep crossing the border every second. It seems fishy that they wanted it. It's not good that like he's going into the government and seeing where there's waste on these weird things that nobody needs. That's bad. It's like I don't care who you voted for. If there's taxpayers that paid billions of dollars, and now it turns out that those billions of dollars just evaporated or went to dumb things or who knows where they went. I think it's fair enough that they stop this kind of waste, and I don't think that's bad for taxpayers. I don't know why this is like the hill that they want to die on.
Well, you have to understand that, they've already identified that uh, a whole lot of that money that's being, clawed back or, not being allowed to be distributed by, Doge, a whole lot of that, we're talking billions and billions of dollars, was all going to Democrat causes. It was all going directly to NGOs and a variety of other organizations, nonprofits that were directly set up to be essentially slush funds for progressive purposes. We had, what's her name? The lady who's run for governor in Georgia a couple of times. Her just cannot remember her name right now. Uh,
Stacey Abrams.
Stacey Abrams, yes. Oh Lord, Stacey Abrams, who had essentially set up a non-governmental organization, set up this nonprofit. They had essentially spent the money necessary to open a checking account, and then wrote up a proposal, and were given billions, billions of dollars when they've never accomplished a thing. Never done anything.
I think that's a lot. We saw a lot
It's
of that. That they're
ridiculous.
like, "We'll take money for this." It reminds me of the train in L.A. that it's like Gavin Newsom has collected I don't know how many billions to do some train or something. Well, what is it? Is a subway? I don't even know what he's building there. To date, nobody's done anything. It's the same with internet. That was the special internet program that they'll do like satellites or whatever. Nobody did anything. But sorry, I cut you off. Go on.
No, yeah, I was just saying, like, it's gotten, it's ridiculous. There's so much of this, waste. It was fraud. It was absolutely just fraud. It was a way to launder money from the American taxpayer directly into the pockets of hundreds of different progressive causes. It's insane. We have had some people that are mentioning, saying maybe we should mention the 13-year-old cancer survivor. Tim Hayes says we need to talk about him. I was going to mention, because we were kind of talking about this, the things that Democrats did not applaud for this evening. I found a couple of different posts, people talking about this on X. Um, they would not stand and applaud the young man who survived cancer. Did you see this bit, Price?
I saw something. It was
Okay.
Yes, I did see something very kind of quickly. I was doing a few different things. I just want to say that Elizabeth Quince from Rumble said he has to move quickly, otherwise the deep state will get him. That's why he's acting fast with all this stuff. That's fair enough. I,
Yeah.
I understand that maybe that's part of the reason that he's trying to do as much as he can very quickly. I respect that. But like I said, we you can only hope that it's all sort of going to come together the way he wants. But yes, there was a kid. He had like 13 surgeries or something.
Yeah, he'd had a bunch of different treatments and surgeries. What had initially he had been diagnosed with a brain tumor, and obviously that that was removed, and he had had various treatments and such. But his dream was always to be in law enforcement, and so he's actually been honored by a number of different law enforcement agencies where he's been made an honorary officer, an honorary member of those different agencies. And part of the ceremonies this evening was that the director of the Secret Service presented him with his credentials to make him an agent in the Secret Service. It was a surprise to him. You could see it on his face. It was adorable. His eyes practically popped out of his head. He was so excited. And the head of Secret Service came and brought him his credentials, and then he gave him a big old hug. It was adorable. It was absolutely adorable,
Yeah, no,
and it's great to see something like that. But of course, during this, Democrats sitting on their hands, pathetic.
yeah, no, it doesn't surprise me. And then MSNBC were basically saying, Nicole Wallace on MSNBC said, "I hope he has a long life as a law enforcement officer, but I hope he never has to defend the United States Capitol against Donald Trump's supporters. And if he does, I hope he isn't one of the six who loses his life to self deletion." This is really weird crap. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
these people are deranged. I don't, I like, that was the minimum. The kid, they could have at least clapped for him. Yeah, it was nice.
yeah. They also did not applaud when the families of murder victims were honored. During the speech tonight. They refused to applaud a young man who is, soon to graduate high school being admitted into West Point. Didn't applaud that, and didn't applaud when Trump was talking about eliminating various different ideologies from schools, specifically talking about those that tell young people that they may have been born in the wrong body. He specifically came out and said, we're not going to allow this anymore. We are going to let young children know. We're going to let them know that they are born uh, in the exact body they were meant to be born in, and they're perfect just the way they are. They would not applaud that. They sat on their hands. What would they applaud for? Sending more money to Ukraine. That was it.
I mean, Zelensky did like a U-turn today, right? He wants to do some mineral deal.
Yes, and it's exactly what I had said. In fact, I talked to someone about this earlier today who was talking about how unfortunate it was, and I said it's just part of the negotiations. Trump is not a statesman. He's not up here trying to be like the best statesman and oh look at everything. No, he's making a business deal. Everything he's doing is a business deal. He is negotiating with him. He's trying to get the best deal possible for the United States and frankly for himself as well. But he the whole thing with throwing Zelensky out. First of all, he was a little bit out of line. Maybe part of it was just maybe his English isn't that great. But you could tell that things were not going well when his his ambassador was just doing a face palm. What was
He
going
he
on?
blew it. He blew it. You know
He
what?
did.
I'm gonna tell you something that even like behind the scenes, maybe not admitting it as much as they should. Even these kind of democratic supporters of Zelensky know that he blew it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, but
Like
they
I've heard this that they also know. It's not like eh, anybody that could actually watch that thing and watch the whole 49 minutes or whatever it was can tell that Zelensky mishandled that situation the whole time. The one thing I can say, and I will quickly say it, and then we'll go back to the address. There was one time a situation that for like a small business situation, I wanted I was looking into opening some kind of business, and I wanted the bank, possibly to give me like a line of credit. And when I say line of credit, I'm saying, well, I don't know if it was like 5 or 10 grand or something like that. So when you have something like that and you're supposed to meet with a bank manager, at that point, I think at minimum I had like a button down shirt and a jacket. Don't know if I had a tie on or not. Maybe that's too much. Probably had like a jacket and a button down shirt. You know, you want to go. You want to be cool with people. You want to make sure that there's some kind of support for your business. You make that effort, you know what I mean? Or there have been times that I've had to go and pitch maybe clients a service or something that you know I want to offer them a service that if they take it, it actually means money for me. And obviously in a meeting like that, I put on a suit and tie. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
I
So
I recently had an event that I did with a bunch of uh, high school students who were doing various things in business, trying to doing like case analyses and stuff like that. These are high school students. They're like 16, 17 years old. Every one of them, suits and ties, sharp looking dresses and coats, blouses. Like they were dressed up. They looked really nice. They're high school students, right?
right.
And clearly some of them were not of, great means. Some of them probably were, not wealthy young students, but they had their best on, to come and do a little case study thing, right? Doesn't even really matter what they're wearing, except that they want to look professional. And it does seem kind of silly that he just walks around in these stupid little, you know, bland little t-shirts trying to think he's some sort of political version of Steve Jobs or something. I don't know what his deal is, but yeah.
The big ship is saying hello to you.
Yes, and I said hello to the big ship in the chat. So yes,
And
hey
even
there.
though I'm not sure you said hi to me, I'm still saying hi to the big
No, no, not that.
I'm like Trump now. He didn't say hi to me
Yeah,
in my own
yeah.
chat.
No, no, you're gonna kick him out. You're gonna kick him out. No, but yeah, this whole thing with Zelensky, they did say this evening that yes, it does say that that they sent a letter. Zelensky and his team sent a letter to the White House saying we are prepared to sign the mineral deal. We're prepared to come back to the table and follow your leadership and find peace in Ukraine. So that that's an encouraging sign, and I think again very likely part of the plan all along, was to, just continue the negotiations, push back a little bit, not simply going to fold and say, Zelensky can have whatever he wants, right? And then, of course, you had, I found it disgusting. You had a bunch of Democrats going out trying to talk about how Zelensky's is now he's the new leader of the free world.
Man, they don't understand, and I
Morons.
tweeted this, I tweeted this the other day, probably a tweet that, like, out of all my tweets, I think I got, like, 0, maybe you had a like on it or not even, or maybe just nobody saw it. But, the thing is that I think that Zelensky didn't do, like, the minimum, that's one thing, and the other thing I was saying in my tweet is that he and Vladimir Putin, if you put them in a room, they speak the same language. I understand that they're also, Zelensky also speaks Ukrainian, which I think is rather similar to Russian, but what do I know? But he,
Mhm.
he also actually speaks fluently Russian. So like if now you put in a room, if we were in a room now, me, Putin and Zelensky, they can talk to each other freely with no interpreters. They understand each other very well. They have a very similar culture. They understand each other very, very well. I, on the other hand, if I was there, wouldn't really, I'd be the odd man out. I don't understand what they're saying. You know what I mean? Like, it just shows you how much their culture is similar, and in a way, how much I don't know if to say that they're similar, because I actually think, you may like Putin or not like him. I'm not trying to say one way or another, but that guy, at least I understand, he controls that his location pretty strongly. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
However you may feel about him, he is in full control of whatever he does there. Uh, Zelensky, I don't know. I don't know how I feel. It almost feels like Zelensky is trying to be like Putin, but he doesn't have the power to be like him, and he doesn't have, kind of like what Trump said, he doesn't have the cards to be him.
Oh yeah,
I-
and
I'll
and
gi- I'll give you an example, and I know we're sidetracking here. Do you know that there's some kind of meme? Did you know this? There's a meme thing that's very popular. I don't know where it's popular. Of Putin walking around, kind of this alpha walk. It's like a meme. This video has existed for years. Like, I guess he had people film him walking around, and he's Mr. Big Boss. Okay,
hmm.
do you know what I'm talking about, or am I
Of course.
completely crazy now?
No, yeah,
Have you seen it before?
I think so. Yeah,
Let me see. Putin, I don't know if I can find it. Putin Alpha Walk. Okay, it's called the Putin Alpha Walk.
yeah.
I think I got it. So I think that this is let's see. I don't
Let's
know if
see.
this
While
is the
while you're pulling that up, so I saw Phantom Outsider Chat addresses saying that the mineral deal means U.S. interest would be on the ground in Ukraine, not troops, civilians. No way Putin is going to attack U.S. civilians, and that brings stability. You are 100% right. That is the whole purpose behind getting the mineral deal. It is not all about us getting those minerals for U.S. interest. If we have interests on the ground with people there helping to, industry businesses there helping to recover those minerals. Yes, we're going to be getting some of that. They're going to be getting some of that. Europe's going to be getting some of that, but we would have US civilians on the ground, and that is going to mean a significant issue with Putin attacking anything in the area there, because if he risks injuring U.S. civilians, that is going to be a serious issue. If we have, European interests on the ground, business interests where civilians are there on the ground, that is also going to be something that is going to help to stabilize the situation there. The more of that we have in the area, the less likely you're going to have Putin indiscriminately attacking different areas in the country, and that's going to help to stabilize that region significantly. Adam Gray says Ukraine got that lithium though, so it's cool. Yeah, they do. They do have some significant resources there in a variety of different minerals that are needed for high tech productions. So yeah, I mean, it's definitely something that's in our interest as a country moving forward, especially for industry. It's also in Ukraine's interest. It's in everyone's interest that we're able to recover those minerals. But yeah, if we've got companies, U.S. civilians, on the ground there, if European countries have civilians on the ground there, that's really going to be, an issue for Russia and for Putin attacking in those areas, because they're not going to want to risk injuring,
right.
civilians that are there. Not civilians, or not like crazy Americans that are going over there as mercenaries to fight for the Ukraine or whatever, but actual just civilians that are there operating in the area. So yeah, I think that is a big part of it. Phantom Outsider, it's a big part of why that they want this deal to go forward.
Matt Cat 83 Hail Price of Reason. Hey Matt, how's it going? Nice to
Hey,
see
Matt.
you here. Friend of the channel. So I understand what you're saying. You're saying that, and what everybody's been saying, that it would have in Zelensky's best interest to just be nice, sign the deal, wear a suit, shut up, and leave. And instead, he was all annoying, but today seemed to have done a 180. The question is if he's going to stick to this 180, or can we even trust this guy, But that's a different question, I guess. But I wanted to show you that somebody showed me this week, which I liked. Have you ever seen anything like like, even Trump has
Yeah.
never done this, you know what I mean? Like, this is just,
Yep.
like, complete, like, bonkers thing,
Oh, jeez.
continues
Yeah,
on.
now you're making me just expect to see this coming from Trump any day now. See something like this, where he's gonna be
Uh, I'm surprised he hasn't done it yet.
walking around inside the inside the White House.
I mean, look at how much effort went into this thing. Like this is just like planned. I
Kind of
mean,
ridiculous.
it's real like propaganda. You know what I mean? I'm just trying to see a. I think it's funny that he makes videos of himself. This is like, then he gets into his fancy car.
It's ridiculous.
This is not done as a joke. This is unironic.
Oh no,
Like,
yeah.
This is for real. Okay? So now, let me try to find it. I have a point here. There's a reason why I showed you all of this.
Okay. I'm hoping this ties back into something.
One second.
Yeah, that's fine.
Tell some jokes in the meantime.
I was just looking at the chat here. Let's see. I don't have any. I don't think we got any new super chats. No. Okay. Phantom Outsider says, notice that his right arm never moves as he keeps it near his gun. That's his KGB training. Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, he's KGB. Yeah.
Okay, one second. Tell more jokes. Because of that stupid meeting at the White House, the one video that I'm trying to find, like, hold on, walk.
Matthew Marcillo says Zelensky and Putin need to just meet on the Russian-Ukraine border, strip to their bare chests, and settle their differences Thunderdome style.
For some reason, I don't know why there's like a meme where they make it so like you walk in a wide way. I don't know why they're walking wide. But the bottom line is this: he's doing the same stupid thing. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Let me. Oh, you can't see this video now. Part of the meme is some people, and I don't know why they make it wide. They think it's like funny that you see it in wide vision. I would want to show it not wide, but I only found the wide version. I don't understand Russian and Ukrainian memology, but can you see it?
Yes.
So now you have like him walking in his stupid palace. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
It's wide for some reason because there's a joke, and I don't know what the joke is because I'm not from Russia or Ukraine. People think it's funny that like you do the screen wide and he looks like wide.
He looks really short.
I guess so. And then like the bottom line is, I guess what I'm trying to say is like, look, he's also going to his castle. He's walking around. He wants to walk around like a big boss. There's some weird stuff in the editing here, but the idea is the same. Do you get what I mean?
Yes. Yeah.
Even with the wide thing, he's walking in and all the soldiers are doing the thing. It's like, at least from what I understand, I believe this is real. Like he actually does this too. You understand what I was trying to say?
Sure.
So my bottom line is they come from like similar backgrounds in the sense of they speak the same language, they understand each other very well. Their weird stuff that they do, their propaganda, their culture thing. He's basically Zelensky is trying to be a Putin. That's my opinion. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like he that's part of the reason why he came into the White House acting the way he did, because he thinks like, oh, I'm like, me and him are one and the same Putin. It's like me versus him. Like I'm like Putin, but I don't know that he is.
Well, I can certainly say that he's done some interesting things while he has while he's been a president, I think is his title. Yeah, Ukrainian president. You might know that recently, he's actually serving in, I believe, now the 6th year. He's still in his 6th year of a 5-year term as president, because he declared martial law back in 2022 and has banned elections since that time. He's also banned numerous political parties within his country that are no longer allowed to participate in elections or any other part of the government. He's also censored numerous journalists. He's also been credibly accused of uh, taking journalists and forcing them, conscripting them into the army, and then sending them to the front lines if he doesn't like their coverage. Uh, there's been other things, including cracking down on certain religions and things in the country. He's not a good guy. He's most certainly not the leader of the free frickin' world. Sorry.
Yeah, and then basically in that video that we saw, he was actually wearing
He
a
was
suit, as
he
somebody
was
pointed
wearing a
out here.
suit.
Yeah,
Amazing, right?
when he wants to do the Putin walk, he wears a suit. If you understand what I'm saying. When he's doing his little propaganda movie, he wears
Oh
his
yeah.
suit very nicely. It's just when he comes to the White House, he doesn't want to wear his suit, which I think is not a good look for him.
No, it is absolutely not. Um,
So yeah,
eh,
that's pretty much my thoughts on this whole situation. I wish I could find a video that wasn't wide, that was very strange. People are like, "What am I even watching?" Sorry, guys, but hopefully you understood at least the point that I was trying to make.
sure.
That that
Yeah.
that that they would understand each other, why they're walking around in palaces and like making all these weird things. They understand each other better than I do.
Yeah,
And
it's weird, yeah.
like I guess what I'm saying, and maybe this is a bad way to look at it, but sometimes you have like two countries which are so different. They speak a different language. Their culture is completely different. It's like two very different places, and these two places are at odds. Sometimes it's a religious thing. Sometimes it's a cultural thing, and there's so many barriers. And you think, well, that's why they can't overcome their barriers because there's such big barriers between them. But in this case, these are two kind of like like-minded dictators with very similar culture, with language, with no language barrier, with no cultural barrier, and it's just a matter of like some weird pissing contest that involves a lot of like you know involves things in Europe, involves like money laundering and all this other stuff. That's why really I don't understand why all these people are dying. It doesn't. I could be wrong, but it feels like if there was a way to make peace, I think it would be good to do it. Again, I don't live in their reality. I don't really know 100% about their conflict. Maybe there's ins and outs that I'm not aware of, and I understand that too. But yeah, I think that after so many hundreds of millions of dollars went to them, it would be fair if something changed.
Mhm.
Huh.
Yeah, it's all this stuff with Ukraine. I do honestly, genuinely hope that we are nearing a resolution to this. I do understand those people that are frustrated that perhaps we might be making some concessions to Russia, given that they were the aggressors in this. Uh, at the same time, there's been numerous things, not military things, not moving in on anyone's territory, but there have been numerous slights from Europe and from the Ukraine against the interests of Russia over, the past decade. That was what that whole moving in and taking Crimea thing was about, specifically about some issues. There's all of the saying, "Oh, we're going to put this country into NATO and add them first." They couldn't even really afford to be in NATO, even if they wanted to be. But and so they're saying, Russia doesn't want Ukraine in there. They want some buffer states sort of in between. There's really not any reason to admit them into NATO. And so, yeah, I understand that people get frustrated that, oh, you're giving Putin everything he wants. No, he's not going to get everything he wants. But at the same time, the Ukraine is not going to get borders back that they had in 2014 or before 2014. That's just simply not going to happen. We don't have that kind of leverage. Ukraine most certainly doesn't have that kind of leverage. And we need to step back from the brink. We've literally for years now we've been sitting on on the brink of World War III, and we do not want that. We do not want European troops on the ground. We do not want U.S. troops on the ground. That talking about that kind of thing is madness, right? You do not want that. We need to pull back a little bit. It means that yes, he's probably going to get some stuff out of it. He's probably going to get to keep some territory here and there. There's some parts of Ukraine that quite literally the people of those areas have voted to join Russia.
Right,
Whether
because
those
they speak Russia, and that's again,
exactly.
I mean, this is the part where I've said this before, and because I also told you that when they get into a room, they're of the same cloth, they're the same mentality, the same whatever. They talk the same language, they have the same mentality and culture, and I'm not that way. That's why I usually try not to butt in so much into this conflict because it's complicated. They all used to be part of Russia, correct? It used to be Russia, and then like it
Mhm.
was Russia and Ukraine. And I think once you do that, and some people are left with the culture and they're still sort of connected with the Russian, way of doing things and language, and some people aren't. I think that's at least part of the problem that you have there. I say this not as an expert. I'm not saying I'm an expert in anything. I've just said this before that it always strikes me as more of a mini civil war of sorts, or a semi civil war. Okay, not mini,
Mhm.
semi civil war. That's what it looks like. And once it's a semi civil war, it's really hard for people that are not from that location, that didn't grow up living and breathing those cultures, that culture, and really understanding all the ins and outs. You and I can talk about it for hours and hours, but I feel like, I don't know if it's easy for us to always get the full picture there. But at the same time, so many hundreds of billions of dollars and the whole world and everything that's happening, and like you said, possibly creating another world war for it. At some point, you say to yourself, "Okay, this doesn't look like a good idea," and it doesn't look like a good idea for anybody. There are soldiers that are Russian and Ukrainian that are dying, and the question is, especially when it comes to Zelensky, what the end game is. I don't think he can beat Russia. He's a headache for
Absolutely
them.
not. No, they billions of dollars, tons of military equipment being shipped in there, and they have not beaten Russia back. They have not pushed them out of their country. They have not, had, yes, they've had wins here and there. They've also had a lot of losses. Most of the country is rubble at this point. They've sent thousands of young men, and women, frankly, in some places to die, and they're running out of people to send. They're taking children and conscripting them, putting them out. So it's really very very sad what's happening over there, and the only way to save lives is peace. And if that means giving some concessions to, giving some concessions to Russia, to Putin, then that's what needs to be done. This is not a war. You talk to Zelensky, he said, "Oh, we'll keep fighting this war forever." It's like you can't afford to fight this war forever. You don't have the people to fight this war forever.
No, and I hate
It's
to be like
it's
Vance here, but
stupid.
I kind of understand why he was annoying because he's like, it's not your money. Like, who else has a situation where he doesn't have the money? He's coming in and he's talking about like fighting forever. It, he really messed up that meeting. Yeah, maybe you could say that Trump and Vance weren't the most diplomatic. Not that I don't think that what they were saying was false. I can understand what they were saying. Maybe like in a meeting like this, you prefer that people wouldn't say that. But at the same time, Zelensky, he really dug himself into some hole in that meeting, and it was very foolish of him. And it shows, until now behind the scenes, I've been hearing that, like, in the past, Biden got upset at him, people got upset at him, different, even, Democrats or things like that, but they were always more quiet about it because it didn't suit the narrative, so they're all kind of pretending that it's great. But I think this guy is kind of problematic,
Hmm. Yeah.
meaning he's been a headache all along.
Yeah.
They're just
Yeah.
all, like, enabling him, and, with Trump, I guess it's not gonna work in the same way.
Yeah.
By
It's
the
all
way,
very sad. There's so many people that are just war hawks, right? I think some of them are war hawks because they think that they're going to profit from it in some way. War can be very profitable. There's some of them that are just like, oh, we can't, we have to stand up to Putin no matter what. Well, send your son or your daughter to the front lines then, if that's how you feel.
I have a
Uh,
question. The big ship, when he says "rip," is he referring to the people that died in that war, in the Russia-Ukraine war?
I think maybe he was saying "rip" for "This Is My Name," who was in the chat, who was being a little disruptive, and was was timed out for the evening.
Ah, I see.
Yes, and to the point of "This Is My Name," who but before becoming unruly did say, "Well, they were invaded." You're right. Ukraine was invaded. Russia invaded Ukraine. I said they were the aggressors. Militarily, they were the aggressors. The Ukraine is not going, they are not going to win an ongoing war with Russia. They've been fighting it for years. They have not been able to to maintain the
They
lines.
they've
They
wasted
have lost.
resources
They've wasted massive amounts of resources, massive
and
amounts of
lives.
money, massive numbers of lives that have been thrown away. They have not gained anything. They have not chased the Russians out of the country. This is not something that is winnable at this point. If it means giving concessions to Russia to end the war, then I think you're talking about a war that could continue on for a decade or whatever. I don't think that's the case. I don't think it would go on that long. I think eventually Russia would end up taking control of the country. So if you're going to give them some concessions now versus continuing to fight this war, throwing away billions of dollars and hundreds of thousands of lives, and then losing later on anyway,
Yeah, I
well,
mean, the
take
the
the
other
concessions.
the other thing is that, yes, he is the aggressor, and, it doesn't mean that what he did was necessarily right per se, but I
No.
will say that also, since that whole, USSR, fell apart and then they did all the changes there, it was understood that that Ukraine wouldn't join NATO, I believe, and
Yes.
I feel like they've done every single thing they could do to annoy him, they've done it, and he's the type of guy that doesn't like to get annoyed. So, yes, I'm not saying he's a saint, I'm not saying at all that he's a saint. I'm far from saying that Putin is a saint. I'm saying that, like, he's the type of guy that isn't a saint just in just on your average day, but if you wanna keep, like, weird double crosses with him and annoying him and toying with him, that's also probably not gonna get you anything.
Nope.
Like, I guess what I'm saying is kind of a 2 to tango situation here. From what I understand, and I could be wrong, it seems like, there were, a lot of things happening that kind of, like, nudged him, you know what I mean? I don't know what he would have
Mhm.
done with it or without it. I don't know if he would have acted any differently, but I think that there were certain actions that were taken that, at least it's fair to say, kind of pissed him off.
Mhm. Yeah. There were provocations on the world stage, that ended up leading to it. Now, again, not military provocations, not it's, these are, political things, but, and he didn't just decide to start a war in Ukraine for no reason. Right. He didn't just decide to enter into the Ukraine for no reason at all, right? You can argue for what those reasons were. You can argue whether those were just. I don't think they were. You should not have invaded Ukraine, but there were definitely, political things, that were going on there, right? We do have another super chat here real quick,
I'm
from
gonna share it.
yeah,
I wanna share it on the screen as best
okay.
I can. First of all, Tim Hayes not the most diplomatic. We don't have to be world police. I agree. We don't always have to do it. It's also very costly, and the U.S. has given a lot of money to the Ukrainians in their fight.
Mhm.
It's just it can't be like a bottomless pit for in that sense, especially with the amount of it. Um, so can we see the chats? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's the last one down there at the bottom.
The elephant in the room is that Ukraine has a bad history of being newsies. No one ever
Mhm.
talks about the Russians in East Ukraine who were butchered. Yeah, I mean, again, don't really know what to say about all of this. I'm sure that there's people that are innocent people that are not Zelensky and not Putin that in the midst of this conflict have gotten killed. There's probably women and children and people that are not newsies or Yahtzees or whatever you want, mustache men that have suffered from this war. And in that sense, I don't think that people should suffer. Are there some bad people around there? Sure. Is there a lot of corruption? If you look, I don't know if who shared it on Twitter or whatever in recent days that the mainstream media here in the U.S. prior to Zelensky and this whole attack with Putin, they were doing a lot of articles about the corruption in Ukraine. It's just that like once Putin attacked, then they all rallied behind Zelensky, and it's like yes, like let's forget about the fact that we kept saying that there's so much corruption there. Let's give him like hundreds of millions of dollars. We're now billions of dollars. Where now he doesn't know where it will like 100 billion went or something. So
Mhm.
I don't know what to tell you. It could be that he's like a man of principle and a man of ideals and stubborn and full of whatever. But you know what? I always have this feeling that I don't fully trust whatever's going on there. He is backed and has been from day one from these type of like, very wealthy oligarch type people. And you understand what I'm saying.
Yes, absolutely.
It's all I don't I want I'm torn here because on one hand I don't want to be insensitive and if there's people dying of course that's bad and all that but there's a lot of shady weird dealings going on there too and a lot of corruption and at the end of the day if it had nothing to do with US money maybe you just say fine do whatever you want but once somehow the whole world is expected to keep footing this bill for this war that probably should have been avoided somehow. I mean, as much as like Trump says things and he says things in a very blunt way and some kind of bonkers way, but yeah, that whole matter wasn't handled well by Biden and with Kamala. Like, if there was a moment where they could have made that war not happen, they failed. And maybe they
Mhm.
didn't want to make it not happen. Maybe they did want the war to happen. That's a different story.
Sure enough.
But Caleb Levine says there's fine people on both sides. Say it. Listen, I I don't know. I don't know those people. I'm hoping there's some good people somewhere.
I will say, we have an amazing chat, Price. There's some great people having some great conversations and, being very civil and just, talking about it, and that's wonderful. That's what I love to see. People saying, "Hey, maybe I don't know everything. Here's what I do know. Here's how I feel about it." Just sharing, thoughts and
I
going back and forth respectfully. That's awesome. I
I
love
mean,
to see
I
it.
I think between the both of us, we have a general understanding of world events. You know what I mean? But in some parts where I think to myself, like I told you, I haven't lived in the Ukraine and I
Yeah.
haven't lived in Russia. I don't speak Russian. Uh, I don't walk around in palaces, with like people filming me looking cool, getting into cars, and I don't have a bunch of like, I'm trying to find a word here, businessmen that are my pals backing me that have billions. I don't
Hmm.
have any of that going on, and somehow I'm not a good mediator between whatever nonsense this whatever nonsense this is. Obviously, people shouldn't die. We can agree that it's bad that there's a lot of people dying. But aside from that, don't
Yeah.
know what to tell you.
Yes. Neither of us are elder statesmen with a bunch of knowledge in, all of the, various different levels of diplomacy and everything happening. We're just kind of giving our thoughts on stuff, and glad to see people in the chat doing the same. So, what else?
Sean Green
Oh,
says, "Oh, there's so much TDS suffers in the chat. Everything makes sense now." Why? I don't think so. I wouldn't say that people
there's
are.
that many. Yeah,
I don't. I think we're all like really just having grown up conversations. I don't
yeah,
think we're. I don't get a TDS vibe from this chat.
yeah,
TDS is what I saw today with those paddle signs of like
yeah,
Musk steals, Trump lies, or whatever, and the whining, or that looked like it. By the way,
yeah.
just to sum up the State of the Union, not State of the Union, the addressing Congress. So, yeah, I mean, they were very hostile, the Democrats. I think that's a good way to put it. Uh, is there anything, what are your key takeaways from it?
Just a second. We do have a super chat if you want to pull that up.
I'll do it right now.
For $10 from John Riker, who's also a channel member. So
Oh, wow. Awesome. The Dead Man
yeah,
is also a channel member, by the way.
yes.
So, yeah. Oh, I have the thing paused. Okay. Uh, I liked the stream today, so that Six won't tell me now that I didn't like it. What Trump's doing reminds me of the book Debt of Honor by Tom Clancy a little.
Okay.
I have to admit that I have not read that book by Tom Clancy. Have you read it?
No, I have not. I've only read a handful of Clancy novels over the years. Let's see.
Dead by Honor. Now I have to Google this. Dead by Honor. A Death by Honor. Oh, I can't find it.
Let's see. The seventh book in the Jack Ryan series revolves around a conflict between the United States and Japan, sparked by economic tensions, escalating to full-scale war.
Oh, Debt of Honor. Debt of Honor.
Yeah,
I thought
Debt
it
of
was
Honor.
Death.
Yeah,
What did
yeah.
he write?
Well, it said dead in the chat, but yeah, it's debt.
Okay, got you.
DBT. Yeah, yeah. Um. Nope.
Are you there?
Yes.
Okay, so this is like
I heard myself being played back from the video in your
we're
window.
like a window within a window. This is like some trippy. This is like that Bruce Lee movie when he has a bunch of mirrors around him.
Yes, you get the infinity effect going on.
I love that movie. That
Yeah.
was great. Which one is that? Was that one The Big Boss, or
With all the with a bunch of mirrors. Um.
was it called The Big Boss?
Oh,
The problem
there was that one.
with Bruce Lee movies is that I think in China they named them one way, and then they named one movie is called The Big Boss, and like in China it's one movie, but in the U.S. it would be a different movie. There's something that really confuses me about the names, but I've seen all of them. All the
The one with the mirrors where you've got I I think that isn't that one from Enter the Dragon?
Oh, maybe that's the
The
one. Yeah.
final guy that he's fighting against at the end is with all the
Is
mirrors.
there a movie called The
That'd be
Big Boss, or am I just crazy now? Is there a movie called
I believe there is. Yeah.
The Big Boss? Sorry, Adam Gray. Yes,
Yeah.
I have light mode. I don't know what people want. I'd like it. Sometimes YouTube is good when it's light. That's what I'm used to.
Yes. The Big Boss was entitled Fist of Fury in the United States. So, yeah.
I knew there was something. Okay,
Yeah.
so it wasn't that one. It was that one. Okay, we're quantum leaping right now. This is very quantum leap ish. Yes. In any case, we went from not super chatting to like
Yeah.
super chatting. Uh, but so it's one of those Jack Ryan books.
Yes.
It's about a Japanese industrialist who has been plotting to bring his country to a position of greatness for years, apparently. And Jack Ryan is pulled out of retirement. I feel like he's always being pulled out of retirement. Or maybe it's just because Harrison Ford, by the time he took the role on, he kind of looked like a guy we would be
Yeah.
retired.
In the movies, it was always like bringing him out of retirement every time. It's
Right,
like,
because they cast
and
him
then
and he was
every
kind of
time he
older.
goes
Like,
back into retirement, and then next time, we need you back.
need you back,
We
Jack,
need
just for
you
one more time.
one more, just one more.
Just one more mission. By the way, I saw that trailer for the. I mean, they've shown it. Saw it again now in the theater. A few days ago, I saw a trailer for Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning. I know you don't like those movies. I actually think they're pretty good.
I don't know that I don't like them. I just after the second one, I just gave up. Like I have never come back to them. The second one was so bad. I just, yeah,
You know
I
what?
haven't
You
come
know
back
what?
to them. I probably should. I think I've got Paramount Plus right now. I think I probably have all of them. I could watch them, right? So,
You know what? I would recommend to you, if you can get through the second one and the third one, this is just my personal opinion. Mission Impossible 4 is a return to form. If you like, let's say, Mission Impossible 1, and then you got to 2 and it was just too much with the sand and the bikes and all that weird nonsense. And the third one is like a J.J. Abrams movie, so there's only so much you can get out of it, even though Philip Seymour Hoffman does a really, really good job as a villain. But it's not my favorite. But from around the fourth movie, it starts finding its footing. Then, like every Mission Impossible movie is like an adventure,
all right, all
and
right.
worth it until, like, even the last one. Now, I don't think you'll regret it if you have Paramount and you're like, hey, I want to watch something cool. I'm telling you that if you saw the first one and the second one, if you can somehow get through that third one, and then like start with the fourth one finds its footing. Four,
Mm-hmm.
5, 6, 7, in my opinion, are good movies. Good action movies, okay? If you're looking for, like, an indie drama that'll, like, pull at your heartstring or something, this is not that. This is just like, espionage, action, whatever it is. I think it's done pretty nicely. Uh,
Yeah.
Price doesn't like sand. I don't know what the context is. Somebody asked, is Mission Impossible Possible Final Reckoning trailer out now? Yes, it is out. It's it's unclear now. I mean, it could be Tom Cruise's last movie, but I feel like he's very careful because he doesn't want to say that. So I don't know. But if I were you, Professor, I would give it a chance. You have nothing to
Okay.
lose. There's so much crap out there. I think that, like, you saw second one, which was a dip in quality. Third one is going to be mediocre, except for maybe Philip Seymour Hoffman. But there are things that happen in the third one that are relevant a bit later. So I would watch it just to kind of get it out of the way. Fourth, fifth, sixth, and seven, good movies. That maybe I would say
All right.
fourth is good, fifth is even better than the fourth, six is even better than the fifth, seven is maybe not as good as the six, but I thought pretty darn good.
All right. Well, yeah, maybe I'll give him a shot when I get a chance. Maybe we'll sit down and just marathon them this weekend.
The dead man says Price hates everything. Hey, I didn't hate it. I said I didn't
Yeah,
hate it.
I hate everything. Come on. There's plenty of good things. Just like 90% is crap, right? Is this, it's the top 10%
Um,
gets
Matthew Marceau says, R2, there's
prices
one
low.
where Ethan Hunt actually hangs off a freaking plane, no green screen. That's the thing that I'll say. That, like, Tom Cruise, his advantages are also his disadvantages, or the, vice versa. He is an eccentric and strange guy, but man, there's a situation where, like, one of those movies you see, or all of those, there's like stunt and stuff. He insists on doing them. You see a plane taking off, and he's like attached to the plane. This isn't some CGI thing that somebody, like, did a green screen and pasted him. He is on that plane. He is attached to that plane, and whatever you're watching, that's what's happening.
Yeah. Yeah,
I mean,
I've definitely seen some of the stunts. I've seen some of those are
just for that alone, that
pretty
like it's
impressive.
so important to do for him to do all these like practical stunts and all this stuff. I think that's kind of cool. You know, I like the commitment. You know, it's an action movie and he's committed. I actually heard a story. I don't know if this is true. Rumor has it that one of the reasons that Tom Cruise got into all this extreme stuff, do you know? I don't think you'll ever guess. Do you know why he started it? Apparently,
I don't know. Did it have something to do with going clear? No
has
idea.
something to do with Patrick Swayze.
Oh,
So
okay.
back early in his career when they made that movie, I can't remember, was it The Outsiders? I don't remember now what it was called. Uh, that there's like there was a bunch of young, you know, up and coming stars in that movie. Was it a Martin Scorsese movie? I don't remember. In any case, I believe that Patrick Swayze, I could be completely wrong on this. Believe that Patrick Swayze was in the same movie as Tom Cruise. Uh, apparently, Patrick Swayze kind of made a serious impression on people there, including on Tom Cruise. And when Tom Cruise saw that he made Point Break, and that he was like, you know, jumping out of a plane himself and doing all the skydiving, and Patrick Swayze, like his mentality was like, oh, there's like a thing, I got to do it, I got to do this. Like that was his whole kind of philosophy and mentality. It kind of apparently rubbed off on Cruise, that like Tom Cruise was like, oh, like I'll do that too. Don't know if that's true. It's something that I've heard over the years. So
Yeah. Yeah, the movie you're thinking of is The Outsiders, which is a classic, teen drama from 1983. It's really good. It's a good book. We read that book years ago, when I was in middle school, high school, yeah, a great film with a whole bunch of big names in it, for the day. You had, C. Thomas Howell, Ralph Macchio, Rob Lowe, Tom Cruise, Patrick Swayze, Matt Dillon, Emilio Estevez, like
I mean, it's an
like everybody was in that movie.
insane cast. I have to watch that movie again. I've seen it once many years ago, and I feel like I never revisited it. I actually want to see it again. I mean, there's so many stars in that. It's
Yeah.
like every single, you know, young actor that was attached to that movie just went and developed a whole career afterwards.
Yeah, it's a very good movie. Again, I think the book is probably a little bit better. That's pretty common though. You when you have the book, you get more time to build characters and stuff like that than you do when you have to compress that down into a film. But it's a very well regarded film as and yes, it's a Coppola movie. Um, so yeah, it's really good. It's been a while since I've seen it. I probably need to sit down and watch it again as well.
I feel like many years since I've seen it. I've seen it once and only many years ago. Like, now I kind of feel like seeing what it's about again. So yeah, so apparently that influenced Tom Cruise, that experience, like Patrick Swayze impressed him. Rumor has it, I don't know. Could be wrong. Heard this before. So
Hmm.
bottom line is, we were talking about Mission Impossible. For years, the guy is like, you know, going out his way to do his stunts. I like when things look more practical and it's not just a bunch of CGI. So yeah, worth a viewing. Is there anything you want to still say about the not State of the Union address? Is there something that we missed? He talked about the economy, the tariffs. He mentioned something with, I think, the minerals. He talked a lot like about the immigration and stuff like that. I'm trying to think.
Yeah, he brought up a lot of different things. He brought up a lot of his accomplishments and during his first couple of months, since he started 6 weeks since he started talking about a lot of the priorities that he's made and making sure that he's meeting the various different promises that he made to the American public. He did talk about, it was booed repeatedly uh by the people on on the left side of the aisle about they how he says he has a mandate, and then, oh, you don't have a mandate. It's like, hey, look, I won all these counties and I won all this stuff and I won all these people from all these different groups. So you know what? You can say what you want. That's a mandate, right? And then he did, talk a lot about some of the different priorities that he's had with his executive orders, eliminating DEI. He specifically brought up some of the stuff that Doge has done, specifically mentioning a lot of the most ridiculous things that that the U.S. government was funding with millions, even billions of dollars, like uh, creating transgender mice. Millions of dollars being spent on making transgender is absurd. It's
That was one of his
absolutely
best
absurd.
parts of the speech, the part that we was reading out about the findings.
Yeah,
Not only was it funny, like, absurd, but his commentary on it was funny too.
yeah, yeah,
He's like, there was one part where he's like, "Oh, we needed to help Asia with their education,"
yeah,
and then you immediately think to yourself, "They're kind of educated. Why would they need our
yeah,
help?" And then he goes, "They're kind of educated. Why would
yeah.
they even need our help?" Like I was
It's like
thinking that, and then he said it. I'm like, "Oh, okay, you
maybe
made me laugh."
maybe we should spend that money on our students, right?
Right,
It's like
exactly. Uh,
exactly what a lot of people are probably thinking, right? He did later on, near the end of the speech, um, there was some stuff where they were talking about support for Ukraine. And he said, Pocahontas says yes, and pointed at Elizabeth Warren during the speech, which was great. I love that he makes fun of her. She's an absolute joke. Uh, he talked a lot about the Panama Canal. He did mention that several times. Talked about how there were hundreds of American lives were lost in building the canal, and we just took all of our money and our effort, and then we just gave it away to Panama for $1, right? And then, but now they've broken their agreement with us. They've sold a whole bunch of these assets onto China, and so now they essentially own it, and so he was making a deal about how now we're getting people over there, and we've got companies now that are going to start investing and buying up these ports. That'll be U.S. companies. We're going to take back control of that, and so that was one thing that they were talking about. He did also mention Greenland again, saying yes, we do in fact, we want to pursue some sort of deal to take control of Greenland in some way. We need it for national security, even international security. And he did say, yeah, I think one way or another, we're gonna find a way to work this out. So uh, some people. Of course, some people on the left took that as saying one way or another was, well, if we can't get it, we can't work out a deal, then we're going to go and just take it militarily. It's like, that's not what he said, right? It's kind of ridiculous. But highlighted a lot of the things that he's done in these first few weeks, which of course just infuriates all of the progressives that are over on the left. And then did, spend some time talking about some of the priorities going forward. So yeah, I mean that was really the overall thrust of the speech.
Mike Yeager says government spending problematic because $1 is for the cause, $2 are skimmed by corruption, and $3 are pillaged by crime and covert pirates. Yeah, I guess. Uh, I guess just to sum it up, because I know that there was also Daredevil, and we should get to discussing that. But how did you feel overall? What you saw.
Overall, I thought it went really well. I thought that the actual the speech and the time that was spent there in front of the joint session of Congress was, I thought, very fruitful for Trump. I thought it worked really well for him to highlight the accomplishments during his first couple of months, so 6 weeks or so in office, and gave some hints, some hints of what that priorities would be going forward. I think making that case in front of the American people, in front of the joint session of Congress, was very good. The people that he had as guests, I thought, also were a really great way to sort of highlight his accomplishments and his goals for his administration. And I thought, honestly, he made everyone on the left look ridiculous. They, all wearing a bunch of them wearing pink, and a bunch of them holding their stupid little ping pong paddle signs. And of course, one member who is just an unhinged dude. I mean, like I said, a couple weeks into the Trump presidency, he's already, calling for his impeachment. I mean, it's ridiculous. His consistently standing up yelling, it's all grandstanding, it's all intended to try and give him attention. uh Honestly, he's irrelevant. He's completely outside the mainstream. And that's fine. He can be kicked out and have his moment in the sun or whatever. I'm certain he won't get reelected to office next time around. But overall, I thought it went really well for Trump. Thought it went, you know not great for the people who were on the left. I don't think it was a good look for them to not be applauding, some of the guests that Trump had brought, and clearly just be very ideologically just, you know, totally opposed to Trump, no matter what policies or even people he might be talking about at the time. So, yep.
Yeah, I agree with your points. Basically, I think you made a lot of good points, and yeah, I agree with you. And I guess now we can go into Daredevil Born Again. Let's see.
Yeah, and someone in the chat was saying that where did I see they were saying that China did not own the canal, but Panama is allowing them to use it. So it's not the canal. Panama still control the canal, but the problem is that canal is controlled. The entry and exits from that canal are controlled by several different companies that run those ports. And there were companies specifically from Hong Kong that had a significant Chinese influence that were running those ports. And some American companies have moved in to buy up their stakes in those ports, so that we would have more of an American stake in those. Unfortunately, one of those companies that's moved in to buy up those stakes is BlackRock. Uh, we all have many of us have some issues with BlackRock, but
It is
yeah,
quite annoying, yes.
yeah, I would still rather have that in the hands of an American company than have that in the hands of a Chinese group
I
that was
guess. I guess like
determining
it would have been
who pays what when they
it would
enter
have
the
been
ports.
better if it was a different American company, but I see what you're saying. Dude Bro
True.
Seth, how's it going? I see your memes and I appreciate them. Uh and now I guess we can we talked about Trump, we talked about
Yes.
Zelensky folding.
Yep.
The one final question I'll ask you very quickly. Do you think this thing with Zelensky is really going to go through, or he's going to, go off the rails again?
I do. I do think it is going to go through. I think probably will be signed sometime later this week, and that's going to be a good thing for Ukraine. Like I said, yes, it might mean that in the end, when they try to make peace, there will be some concessions that have to be made to Russia. But in the end, war is only good for profiteers. It's only good for the people who are trying to make money off of it. This is not a war that has an ending that's coming soon, and not one that's going to end in any way beneficial to the Ukrainian people. Not in a military fashion, anyway. Peace needs to be made. We need to find a deal. Just pouring money and pouring human lives into it is not going to change the outcome in Ukraine's favor anytime soon.
By
So,
the way, if there's anybody that happened to, just check out our stream tonight, enjoying what we're doing, please make sure to hit the like button and also to subscribe. If you're on YouTube or if you're on Rumble, please follow. Be really cool. So yeah, just hope you're all doing that because
mhm.
any bit of support we get is great. We're just happy to have people here and to hang out with you. But clicking on that like and subscribe really would help us. That's it's a
Yeah.
minimal thing, but it would surely help us a lot. So if you feel like doing that, we're all for it.
Yeah,
And
105 viewers across Rumble and YouTube tonight. We really appreciate all of you being here. And yeah, if you can give us a like, a subscribe, or follow over on Rumble, we would really appreciate it. Thanks.
Martel Sherendorf is not a fan of Daredevil.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll be honest. I'm not a huge Daredevil fan. Like from the comic books, like it was not a character that I ever really invested a lot of time in.
I am the
As far as
opposite of
comic
you.
books. Yeah.
I
Okay.
actually
Yeah.
am I'm the opposite. When I was a kid, I actually liked see, I'm not like one of those nerdrotic or, Yellow Flash or whatever that read everything, or even you that, like, I think you read a lot more comics than me, but there were certain comics that I really liked, and Daredevil I liked it. I always thought it was intriguing that he was, seemingly sort of blind, but he
Hmm.
was also like Daredevil. Really liked that as a kid. I liked Daredevil. I
Cool.
liked Spider-Man. I did have some Superman comics which I enjoyed. Yeah, totally. There were some things that I liked. I had Fantastic Four. I liked The Thing, specifically from the Fantastic Four. I had some X-Men comics. I liked Wolverine. Those were
Hmm.
things that I liked as a kid. I actually have the first Wolverine, like the not the first, like the first limited series Wolverine
Yeah.
comic book. Yeah,
Yeah. I think
I
I
have that. I don't know if it's it's worth anything or not, but I mean, I assume that there's ones that exist that are worth.
the one on him with the on the cover with the 3 claws with one
Yes.
hand out,
Yes, yes, I have that
his
one.
other hand saying, "Come and get it." Yeah.
Right, it's
Yeah.
probably only worth like a few $100 or whatever it is, but it's still
Yeah,
nice to have.
if you have one that's in really excellent condition, I think it might be worth a little bit, but that was actually pretty heavily circulated, so I don't think it's worth a whole lot. I think I might actually have a copy of that somewhere.
I think I have the first 4 issues, but they're all like, like I said, they're not, they're not of the type of quality that it's gonna probably get too much money. Even if they were like 9.8, the only ones that I see get a lot that like usually you get a ton of money for is if you had 9.9 CGC, but that is very difficult to find. The
Oh, yeah.
9.9.
Like, it
Those
came off the shelf, you put it in a bag, and you never looked at it.
right. It
It
has to
never
be like
saw sunlight after
I don't
that
even know if
point.
it went on the shelf. It's like you had the box at the comic store where like it arrived in a box or something. You
Yeah,
immediately bagged it and put it like, in a thing in a case and all that stuff. That's really the only way. Or maybe you were at the factory where it was printed. It just like came off the print and you immediately like sealed it. That, I don't know how else
yeah,
you get like a 9.9. That's like
yeah.
insanity. But yeah, so today Daredevil. Now first of all, did you watch the first 3 seasons on Netflix?
So I have seen the first season and part of the second season on Netflix. I have not actually gone back to those to watch them again. So it's been a few years and I never did finish all of the Netflix seasons. So I know that all of those are now on Disney Plus. I really need to go back and watch those again. But from watching the first season, I really did enjoy that first season on Netflix. It was really visceral. It was the action in it was incredibly well done. The fight scenes and then the way the cinematography and everything was done for those was fantastic. So it wasn't a matter of just not wanting to continue with the series. It was really just having life get in the way and not being able to go back and watch
N
it.
n
And so yeah, I have not. I did see the first season and a half of that on Netflix, but I only watched those like the one time when they originally
I'll tell
were
you what,
released.
and I can say this about myself. The first season for me is like a perfect season of television.
It's amazing. It's so well done.
It's so well done. The first season of Netflix is fantastic. I don't know if I've seen, definitely when it comes to these type of series of comic book whatever, I don't think I've seen a more high quality series than like this first season of Daredevil. Now the second season for me was a bit uneven. There were parts of it that I thought were equally as good, that they were fantastic. Also introduction of the Punisher, things like that. Really liked a lot of stuff that went on there. The whole plot with Elektra and everything that went on there with the hand, I kind of felt that that season was a bit uneven. And some people also, I know other people, I think Tom was telling me today that, like, somewhere around her introduction, he kind of fell off. I didn't fall off, but for a little bit, I was, like, not as excited, and I ended, like, season 2 with a bit of mixed feelings because I didn't know. It wasn't bad, I liked it, but I didn't like it as much as the first season. But I will say this, the 3rd season for me was like a return to form, meaning I still think that the first season is better than the 3rd season, but the 3rd season is well done. From start to finish, it tells its story, and it does it in a very kind of comprehensive and cohesive way. And this series, basically, this one that we watch now, is
Mhm.
basically a continuation of. They really did it. I thought that they weren't going to, but at the end, it's fair to say that it's a continuation of that
Yeah.
other series. It really is.
It feels very much the same as the Netflix show. At least, I got to see the first episode. I know you got to watch both of them. I only got through, the first episode and then a few minutes of the second, that premiered.
So
What was your overall impression?
I'll give my overall, but I also want to say we're about to talk spoilers. I mean, I don't know how we can talk about what happens on this show unless in the chat you tell me you don't want spoilers. I'm willing to kind of shoot the breeze for a minute. I want to know if people actually watched it or not, or if they care or not, because I don't want to take away people's enjoyment, but at the same time, I don't know what people are expecting. So I guess people should tell me. Maybe you guys should tell me if you want spoilers or not. How do I do, like, a poll? What do I do, Professor?
Well, I suppose we could talk just in general for just a little bit here,
Okay,
and then
okay,
we can
let's
say, hey, we're moving on to spoilers if you don't wanna listen to the spoilers, right? I guess we could do something like that.
I guess so. Phantom Muck is like,
Mm.
"Spoil it up."
Spoil it
Okay,
up, yeah.
okay, let's put it this way. There's a few characters that right out the gate, you start the first episode, and, very early on in the episode, there's a death of a character. Now, I understand that they wanted to get the story moving. I
Yes.
didn't love how soon this death happened. It really kind of. I felt like if you're already gonna, have this character and this actor they're gonna be on this episode, at least keep, like, build it up a little more. I just felt it was so sudden and never. It happened too soon and too fast, and I wasn't super excited about it. At the same time, I understand that they wanted to push the story forward, and I guess it does, but, I don't know. That kind of bothered me. You know what I'm saying?
No, I totally know what you're saying, right? I was, yeah, I was a little bit surprised by that there wasn't, some more time spent, with the characters together before they drop
Right, it's
sort of
like
that bomb on you. It's like we're talking like 5 minutes into
yeah,
the
I
episode, like
mean, it was so quick. I feel like, I understand if they wanted to go in this creative direction. I don't know if this has something to do with their reshoots and their juggling around of what they did here, but I feel like if you were already going to go through the trouble of bringing some characters that people like into the fold, uh, the amount of screen time they got and how quickly they were sort of shooed away in different ways, without spoiling too much, something didn't feel great to me about that. That's the one thing that I could say that I started off. It was kind of a bummer for me. I'm like, man, I was really hoping that they're continuing this. This feels like, they're seemingly continuing, but then quickly making a shift. And then they sort of jump 1 year forward, and there's like a whole different setup going on, and Matthew Murdock is in a whole different place, with basically different people. But even so, even though it started off with me kind of being bummed out for those early minutes, I will say that very quickly the show did kind of find its footing. I think that this is by far, these 2 episodes are the best thing that have ever aired, any kind of, out of all the Disney Plus shows, out of all the crap that they tried to do, that was probably the best 2 hours I've seen to date of something that they produced, let alone something that Kevin Feige was involved in. Those were the best 2 hours.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, overall impression, like I said, I didn't get to see the second one, at least not all of the second episode. The first episode, I generally very much enjoyed. I thought it set up the story. Hopefully, hopefully they're going to stick to the story. They're going to stick to telling, what they set up in this first episode. But it overall, I thought was extremely well told for just that single episode. I was a little shocked at how quickly they turned the story, like you said, with the one character dying, but then. Uh, when once that happened, the story really kept moving. You kept seeing, the evolution of what was going on and where characters were in their lives after this tragic, this tragic event that took place. Overall, I thought that the fight scene at the beginning was done really well. Although I will say
There were these kind
there
of
was
silhouettes and stuff that they
there
kind of.
was there was CGI that was injected in there, in some of the fights, and I that really took me out of it because if you go back to the Netflix series, now I know that that series is, the actors were younger, right?
I
And
understand.
maybe they
I
were able
no,
to
but
do
I agree
more.
with you. I agree with you. Listen, it was pretty good, but I agree with you. I think that there was some CGI done there. There were
Yeah,
some parts that he's like
where they were, like,
he
kind of sped up or maybe the way they
sped
were
up. He's like
moving
jumping
was
from roof to roof. He's
augmented.
jumping on
Yeah,
the thing, jumping on that. They gave him a little extra something that I think in the previous one they were more grounded. It
yeah,
wasn't terrible. It wasn't like I wasn't gonna watch it. I do know what you're saying. They gave him a little boost there in a few places that maybe was unnecessary, but
yeah, and
uh,
then yeah, they had a he's swinging around town like Spider-Man using his little
yeah, that was
thing.
kind of weird. Yeah,
That
I
was
know
kind
it
of
didn't ruin it
strange,
for me,
but
but yeah.
no, no, it didn't ruin it for me either. Again, like I said, I thought overall the big fight scene that kind of really kicks off the action for the episode was really well done. Just here and there were like where they did some little touch ups. Maybe they made him move a little bit faster or do kind of a little flip or something like that, where you could see that there was some CGI that got injected in there and I was like, that just it took away from what up to that point was outstanding. I mean, really every bit as good as what they did. I think they were trying to it felt like they were trying to recreate the very famous hallway fight scene from that first season of
Yeah, it
the
wasn't as
Netflix
good as the
show.
hallway thing, but that thing with Bullseye at the beginning was pretty cool, and I didn't dislike it.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
and again, I didn't have huge problems with it. There were most of it I thought was extremely well done, but they yeah when they were augmenting it with some CGI and stuff here and there, it did introduce some stuff. I was like, okay, yeah,
I
yeah,
agree.
it's
There
all
were
right,
some things
all
that
right.
were unnecessary, but generally speaking, it was more good than bad. Lasher says Kevin Feige must be disappointed they actually made something good.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yes,
I
I'm sure he is.
yeah, I think I think
And, so other stuff, let's see. So, in more like I said, more general terms before we start into, like, real spoilers and stuff, um, I thought, the introduction of, sort of there's a, leap forward in time. I thought that was really well done, showing us the difference, in everybody's lives, in that span of time now that, everyone's kinda moved on and doing different things with themselves. And then, seeing, seeing the dynamics develop between the main characters, specifically being, we're seeing Kingpin, we're seeing Matt Murdock, we're also seeing Kingpin's wife, who has, in his absence, they kind of give a nod to the events of Echo, and I guess actually the events at the end of Hawkeye, right?
yeah, they
Yeah,
actually made a reference to those events, and it annoyed me.
yeah. So there's a nod to those things, almost dismissive, but there's a nod to those things, and there's a nod to you know, everything that happened there and how Kingpin can be back today, how Fisk can be back. But yes, they introduce his wife as a character, and they kind of start to develop her dynamic there. And then also, as you saw in the, if anybody's watched the commercials, the trailers for this, the dynamic where they have Murdoch and Fisk sitting at the table. I thought that scene, the full version of that scene, beyond what's shown in the trailers, plays out incredibly. The two actors really playing off each other. I thought it worked really, really well.
I thought so too. What happened before with the "My name is" or there was somebody here? I don't know that like that. That was that person saying something that bothered people. I just don't even know what happened.
Oh, they got online and started calling names,
I see.
and yeah,
Because usually that
basically daring to be kicked
I see,
kicked
I
from
see.
the
I
chat.
don't really know what happened, because usually that person is alright, they respond to my stuff, and I think they now commented somewhere on one of my videos while we were talking, and they're like, "Oh, like, the mods kick." I mean, I generally, if people wanna hang out, I'm very welcoming, you know? It's just I trust the mods that if they feel like that person says something offensive, uh, I you know, I
I
like
do
it
believe they took offense to my saying that there were some political provocations for Putin entering into
Oh,
Ukraine when
I've said the same thing, so if they took offense to you, then
and
they would take offense to
then
me.
the mods asked him to chill a little bit because he started calling names, and he said something like "Eat my ass, how's that?" or something of that nature, and so
Well, I mean, you said is it like a timeout? Is a situation the person can come back?
it was yeah, it's not like a permanent,
Okay,
thing.
well, hopefully we'll
It's
see
like
them again. I listen,
yeah.
I like to give people more chances. I'm like, I'm like Trump. I give people second chance. I'm just kidding. I don't know what I'm talking. Now that person will never come back. They're like, screw you, buddy.
"Screw you,
Anyhow, yeah.
pal!"
Anyhow, they actually like they make it seem like the events of Echo happened, but you're right. Between those two actors, it's almost like they just play it off as some dumb thing, and they briefly reference it and just move along. But it's annoying they even have to bring it up. But whatever.
Yeah,
There were some things here. I'm trying to think for a second. One thing is that it's kind of strange that Fisk was gone and his wife took over his business. Eh, it's fine. I like the one thing that this show gets that I like is that Vincent D'Onofrio and Charlie Cox are so good in their roles, and
mhm.
the overall tone here and the vibe, it gets it right. So like I can overlook some things, but I don't know why she became like the kingpin now. You know what I mean? Like, how did she take over his business? I guess he was sick or whatever. I don't know. In any case, you had that. The fact that she was like his wife was with another man, didn't know where that came from,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, that was interesting. Do you wanna go in, we'll just say spoilers, and we can start talking about the first episode and walking through it in case
Yeah,
anybody
I
is
mean, it's not such listen, some major things that I consider real spoilers we kind of glossed over. His
yeah.
wife, possibly banging some other guy. The only reason I say this is that I always feel like anytime that it's in the hands of Kevin Feige, there has to be a man that like a woman cheats on him. Like, there has to be she took over his business and she makes a point of telling me it's better than how he ran it, and now she had an affair, sort of.
Well, you
Yeah,
weren't available or
you
wha
weren't available, you weren't there. There was like my spidey sense of like weird bullshit. It did come like,
Yeah.
I could go off in that section. It's not enough for me not to like the show, but I didn't, I don't know. The other thing is, of course, that like, because they this isn't a spoiler, this in season 1 they killed off Ben Urich, which I think was a mistake, but they killed that character, which was a great character. So now they have like his niece, and of course, it's like the stunning and brave niece. How come these people never have nephews? You know what I mean? Why isn't his nephew like now? Like, why doesn't he have a son called like Ben Urich Jr.? You know what I mean? Like, why is it always that there's some like stunning and brave girl little girl that's here to like, do whatever. I could be, maybe I'm nitpicky, maybe I'm a jerk for saying that, but I'm just saying like never when there's another generation, there's never a son. Have you noticed that?
Mhm. Yep. Yep. Yep.
Like,
Mm.
there's always a situation. It reminded me also in Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. Uh, Michael Keaton, no, sorry, Michael Douglas shows up and he picks up Michelle Pfeiffer. Immediately, it turns out that like she's been like banging Bill Murray. Had to put that in there. Like all these years, he was faithful to her, but she kind of hooked up with Bill Murray, and then they're sitting there and kind of like minimizing him. I don't know.
Oh, yeah. That was so weird.
It was weird, but
It
it's like they
made no
have to
sense.
do it every time, like,
"We don't
it's
have
obsessed.
needs."
Well, yeah, yeah, I
Like,
mean, like, Kevin Feige is, like, obsessed with any point that he can make that, like, there's, like, a male character, there has to be some woman that's, like, he's the kingpin. I expect that his wife, like, wouldn't dare, like, go behind his back. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you'll tell me you read comics and this was a common thing and his wife ran around all the time. I don't know. I didn't get that impression. It's not the way they built the characters on the show. I kind of didn't like that. Not enough for me not to like the show, but, like, if I was sitting with, like, a scorecard and taking off points, that kind of annoyed me. So you had that. I'm trying to think what else annoyed me. For the most part, that's probably one of the only things that, like, jumped out. The niece of Ben Urich and the wife that's better than him. Those are the 2 things that kind of were, like, red flags. Aside from that, I thought it was pretty okay. It was pretty good.
yep.
And I think the second episode actually, is good as well.
Yeah.
The second
Yep.
episode is also it's perfectly fine. I like the second episode as well. Both of these episodes, they're as close as you're gonna get to that Netflix feeling, like to that next Netflix show feeling. I felt like I was watching a real show that didn't feel it. This didn't feel like Miss Marvel or like one of those, Moon Knight. Didn't feel like one of those Loki season 2 or whatever it is. This felt like something that was for adults, more for adults, but like comic book, but more for adults. And it was done like it was pretty well done. And the best ingredients are the things that made really the first show as good. Is that both Charlie Cox as Matt Murdock and Vincent D'Onofrio as Wilson Fisk, they haven't missed a beat.
Oh, no. They're excellent. They're top of their game, there's been, there's been some rumors that it was, the 2 of them that had basically came to the producers when they were making the series and said, "You're ruining this show." And
I
that's
believe
why they
that.
had to dump a lot of the episodes and start over, saying that no, that this is our show. We made this show. This is not our show anymore. This is terrible.
It's
Um,
so good. I
yeah.
don't like one day. Hopefully, we'll learn. Really, maybe never. But like it's so interesting to learn how things happen. I'd be really interested in learning one day how they went about, because Kevin Feige has been so stubborn with his stupid propaganda and crap that it's unprecedented. This is the only time that he said, "Okay, just let's screw it. Let's just start over." Even in like the Marvels and and Captain America: Brave New World, he didn't do that. He tried to keep putting band-aids over some crappy stuff that he already filmed. This was a place where I think he's like, okay, back to the drawing board. No matter how much money I have to burn now, we have to do this right. This is like the only time he did it.
Hmm. Yep. I and Price got dumped right after me. Always happens. After a little bit, Rumble decides we've been on too long and decides to kick us out for a second.
But wait a second, what actually happened now? Did you get kicked off or just me?
No, I got bumped, about 30 seconds before you did. And I hopped back in and I was like, "I bet Price is gonna get get dumped out any second now." And then
Oh,
it happened.
Well, I hope you're on top of all the chat stuff because now I don't know what I'm gonna do.
Well, I've still got the regular chats up. You don't get a long record of the chat on YouTube. It only gives us like the last the last half hour or so. But yeah, we got what we got. Um, yeah,
I
because
see.
unfortunately we don't have the running back all the way to the start of the show. But yeah, so we were saying we were talking about the different characters and stuff. What was let's see here. Uh, just looking at some of the chat here. Oh, somebody mentioned. We were talking about Ant Man and her cheating on Ant Man and everything. Adam Gray says Ant Man 3 is one of the greatest abominations on Earth, and I pointed out that it still did better in theaters than Brave New World. And to this point, it's still doing better in the theaters than Brave New World did, which is absolutely a horrible embarrassment because that movie was garbage, uh, and it was hard to look at too. Literally gave me headaches watching it at some points. Um, let's see what else. Somebody was saying, "Oh yeah, oh they did the same thing with Bill and Ted." Yeah, oh yeah, they had daughters even though their names were Bill and Ted. Yeah, that drove me crazy, Matthew. That they were supposed to be Bill Jr. and Ted Jr. And when they came back and they decided to make that sequel all those years later, that
They were
third
girls
that third
suddenly,
se
yeah. Nobody
yeah,
ever
suddenly,
explained
oh,
that.
they were girls. Oh, well, it's just supposed to be, oh, well, they were too stupid to know that they were girls, named them Bill and Ted anyway. It's so dumb. Yeah. Had to be girls because girl power, right? Couldn't have had sons. Yeah, it's so ridiculous.
It
So
just annoys me because, like, the pattern, it just continues on and on. It's okay, I'm not saying you can never have a situation where somebody has a daughter. But over the past, like, maybe 7 years, anytime there's, like, a legacy character, it's always, like, a daughter. And the only time, like, I can think, like, let's say, in Star Wars: The Force Awakens, they had a son, but the son, like, went to the dark side and wanted to kill his parents. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
if there's already, like, a son, he's the worst, and, like, the daughter has to be stunning and brave, and man, is that tiresome. Things that are random, I could just show you like so many different examples. It's always like a daughter. It's always like a female continuing the legacy. At some point, it's annoying. You know, some people have sons, and they say we want our son to continue the legacy, and the son can still be awesome or not, but he can still try to continue in the father's footsteps. And why not? Why not? Why is that not a thing?
Cause girl power? No, I don't know. Yes. Joshua Goggins, Bill and Ted turned out surprisingly decent and friendly. Yeah, it was. I mean, it was a decent, decent family movie. It was all right.
I
Anyway,
don't know.
yeah,
Bill and Ted 3. I had one issue. Is that the second, like, when they were in there, it's not them doing the song, it's their stunning and brave daughters doing the song, and
yeah,
then that, like, Kid Cudi arrived. Kid Cudi is, like, a huge
so
red
dumb.
flag for me.
Yeah,
Kid
it was
Cudi,
pretty
like,
dumb.
I don't wanna, don't wanna get into too many details. I'm not a big fan of Kid Cudi. Once I saw him, I'm like, "This is shit."
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's
All
like, they're
right.
like, we need the best song that'll bring everybody together. Let's bring Kid Cudi." Okay, stop right there, you know? Do you know who Kid Cudi is, Professor R2?
I mean, I know he's in the movie. I know he's a musical artist. I don't really know any of his music or anything in particular.
Basically, Kid Cudi for me is like, what's it called? The Emperor's New Wardrobe, The Emperor's New Clothes. What's that story called?
Yeah, The Emperor's New Groove, was that the one,
No,
the
that's
film, or
later,
just
some Disney thing. I'm talking
oh,
about the
okay, you're
one,
just talking about the classic story. Yeah,
the classic
The
story.
Emperor's New Clothes, yeah.
Yeah, The Emperor's New Clothes. I think that, like, that everybody's like, "Oh, nobody wants to tell him that he's naked," but he, like,
Yeah.
the story, that's what I think about Kid Cudi. that at some point years ago, people were like, "Wow, this guy is so cool. He's what's next." And then, like, he had this song called "Day and Night," which, like, personally, this is just my own opinion. People were like, "Wow, it's so brilliant. He's such a brilliant guy. It's such a brilliant music." And like at the time, you know, Kanye West, who I didn't rate very much then and don't especially rate him now. I've also I also think he's kind of overrated. Uh, he basically was like cool with him at the time. Oh, Kanye is cool with him. Whoa, wow, it's cool. And basically, I think that people made of that Kid Cudi more than probably what he deserved to be. Fine, it was a catchy song or whatever it is. It was nothing special. I've listened to other stuff he recorded. I didn't think he was that special or there was anything that great about him. But I don't know. I guess some people like to listen to his stuff. I can't tell people what to listen to. I personally don't think it's that great. And then they're like, "Well, we'll put him in movies." And I don't even remember ever seeing him in a movie where he puts in like a good performance either. Really,
Mm.
just don't especially prefer that guy.
Yeah, I
Anyhow,
mean,
uh,
I couldn't hum a single tune off the top
now
of
the
my
reason
head of anything he's
the
ever
reason I'm
made.
telling you all of this is that it's like the first of all, it's bad enough that instead of them two that are doing the song that brings the world together, it's the two daughters, and like the first order of business for the daughter, they're like, we got to get Kid Cudi over here, and it's like it feels like such an insult, like they've insulted my intelligence with that, like. You're doing the best song ever. This is what you got. Some little girls and some Kid Cudi thing. You know what? Fuck that movie. Sorry, Sean.
Sorry, Sean.
And sorry for people here that may have liked the movie. I know people that have enjoyed it that are like, it's pretty good. It was a pretty respectful blah blah blah, but I see things differently. I think it was disrespectful. There were some parts of it that were somewhat okay. Most of it I thought was crappy. I thought it was annoying. I didn't want those two girls, that whole storyline. They were boys, so make them boys and stop doing the same that stupid like woke nonsense crap that annoyed me. And yeah, that's how I felt about 3. I'll never watch 3 again. I've watched 1 many times. I've watched 2 some, less times than the first one, but I've watched it here and there. Third one I watched once, never want to watch it again. You
Yeah.
you can go hang out with their daughters or do whatever you want. I never want to watch that stupid movie again. Sorry. I understand.
No, no, that's alright.
I'm so
It's
sorry. I know some
certainly
people loved it here in the chat. Like I'm
no, no,
chasing away our audience.
it is certainly not my favorite. I watched it the one time. I enjoyed some of it, but overall, it was. I did not feel it was a very good film. It was if it had any benefit, it was inoffensive for the most part. But overall, yeah, I wasn't a big fan of it. My kids have watched it. They actually really love the Bill and Ted movies, and so they've watched those a few times and just included the third one in the watch through. So I've probably seen bits and pieces of it here and there over time, but yeah, it's certainly not my favorite. I wouldn't no, I wouldn't seek out watching it again. Let's say that. Um, let's see. Well, before we get back to our
It's fine if you liked it. I wasn't trying to,
yeah,
be a hater,
no, no, I'm just sad it's
I've
not.
thought
Yeah,
about it and I
it's not my
remember
favorite.
that it annoyed me, and the more I thought about it, the more it annoyed me that it annoyed me.
Yeah.
But go on.
No, no, I was gonna say before we get back to talking more about Daredevil, Born Again, we do have some more super chats and some gifts from the big ship. If you want to share those on screen,
Oh, I'm gonna do that right now. We got our whole system. It's like the best system ever. Okay. Are you ready?
yes,
So, this is a lot of good stuff. Really, thank you guys. It's awesome. Let me see for a second. I have to share it. So, right now, we already said the dead man with the $5 initially. Beep bop boop, 4.99 pounds and 4.99 pounds. Really cool. That from Europe you're watching. Must be really early in the morning for you, by the way.
yeah,
Beep bop boop. It must be like 5:56. No, now it's like almost 7 a.m.
yeah,
I guess. Still very early. John Riker, but John Riker, I think, lives around here. Still very nice. The dead man said, "Yes, I am a member, but I was gifted it. I would never pay to hear you speak, which is why I would never send a super chat." Well, we appreciate the super chat. Thank you very much. By the way, let me like all of these if I still can. So good stuff. I did like likes and stuff. This is Six would love this. Six would be pleased now.
All the likes.
Finally, I'm
All the
doing
likes.
that. The Big Ship gifted 10 Price of Reason live memberships. That's very, very kind of you, sir. Very, very kind of you. Sorry before about what I said that you weren't excited to see me. Now I'm convinced you were excited to see me. So I apologize for that comment before, Mr. Big Ship. Then we have Beep Bop Boop. Did you see they're remaking The Boys from Brazil?
I did hear that. I really don't know why. But yeah, okay, sure.
Do you have any thoughts about that?
I don't know why you need to remake that. The original film is fine. Um, I just don't know that it's really a story that needs to be told again.
You know, the truth is, I'm going to tell you something that's going to shock you. I don't think that I've seen this movie, the original.
So, basically,
I know what
you
it's
know what it's
about.
about. Okay, yeah,
Yeah, I know what it's about. It's interesting, actually. I'm reading about it, and it's strange that I've never watched it. Uh, you know what? I will possibly find time to watch it. It has a really good cast: Gregory Peck and Laurence Olivier,
yeah,
James Mason,
it does.
Lily Palmer, Uta Hagen. Also, these are really Anna Miara, Denholm Elliott also, and Steve Gutenberg. That's like the most random one. Steve
Yes,
Guten,
and then Steve Gutenberg.
like Laurence Olivier, like Uta Hagen, Denholm Elliott, James Mason, Gregory Beck, and Steve Gutenberg. Steve Gutenberg probably couldn't believe he was in this movie.
Yeah, I just I don't see the reason to remake this. It's an enjoyable film as it is. It's conspiracy theory thriller thing that has to do with Yahtzees. So maybe they think that the audience today, the modern day audience on the left, is primed to watch a conspiracy theory
Right,
movie about
the
Yahtzees.
mustache,
I don't
whatever.
know.
Yeah, I guess
Um,
so. Whatever.
I don't know.
I mean, I
Uh,
just don't trust them. But you haven't given me
yeah.
a reason to try to actually go watch that.
But man, are you gonna do better than Gregory Peck and Laurence
And Laurence
Olivier
Olivier
and
and James Mason,
James
yeah.
Mason and
No, no, there were, like, just the names that I said, like, Uta Hagen, there's, like, a school, like, in her name, you know what I mean? Like, an acting
yes,
school, like, these are, like, pillars of the acting community, like, some of the all-time greats. What are they gonna do, cast, like, Timothy Chalamet and Zendaya, you know what I mean? Like, it's just, like,
yeah,
it's just
yeah.
gonna be annoying. Joshua Calkins, gave a 199 super chat, and he says, "Fury Road and Logan rule despite the girl trope." I first of all, Joshua Calkins, you know that I respect you, and you know that you're my peeps, bro. But with that being said, Fury Road kind of annoys me because I did feel like they focused too much on the Furiosa character, and because they didn't really have Mel Gibson, they did the workaround of the Tom Hardy, but he's kind of a side character in the movie. I've always had like mixed feelings about it. It's a well shot movie. It has some interesting set piece kind of action. It's not all bad, but overall, I just didn't love the movie, Fury Road. I watched it once, and I know everybody around me thought it was the best thing since apple pie, and I didn't love it. It's not the worst movie I've ever seen, but I didn't love it either. And Logan, actually, I did enjoy. I watched it in the theater. I did enjoy that movie. It didn't bother me so much, also because it's not really his real daughter. It's more of like a clone in a lab, so I kind of just let it slide, I guess. But that movie focused more on him also and his story, and I think it does whatever it's supposed to do. I didn't hate Logan. I think I liked Logan better than Fury Road.
on the exact same page with you. While Fury Road was kind of fascinating and, sort of the cinematography and the action and how they played that out, I just didn't it didn't do anything for me. I really was like, "Okay, well, that was kind of a cool thing." Haven't gone back to it. Just didn't find it that amazing. Glad to know there's people who really enjoy it.
Yeah, I mean, Adam
I'm
Gray
glad you
says he
enjoy
loves
it.
Fury Road.
Yeah.
I know people that like it's probably usually in two camps. It's some people are just like, I love it. It's George Miller at its finest. It's a lot of practical effects, and I love what he did there. I hear that from people that I respect and like have that opinion, and I respect that they have that opinion. Then there's other people that have more my opinion of too much girl bossing going on there, too little Mad Max, and somehow the movie kind of annoys me. And I think that when it came out, people were still not accustomed. It was a bit before all the like woke explosion, so I think people just didn't fully realize it. But when you think about it today, and where the whole entertainment industry was heading, Mad Max Fury Road really is one of those early candidates of this.
Yeah, it just didn't do much for me. And then I had absolutely no interest whatsoever in seeing Furiosa. Uh, Logan, fantastic. I've seen it multiple times. I seen it in they did a version of it that they redid with they did it in black and white. I thought that worked really well. It was interesting. But it was, yeah, it was a really enjoyable film, and I didn't feel too much about that character of X-23 being a girl boss per
Yeah,
se. I
because
mean,
it was in a lab and she was the little
she's
girl.
a she's a mutant, and yes, she's gonna have powers, and she didn't have she wasn't exactly the same as him. She
Wasn't
wasn't
exact.
better than him in every way, right? And you got to explore that character, as someone who's basically is given up on life. You have to really explore what Logan's character was like. So I did not care that much that you did have the young female character in there. It that didn't detract from the movie at all for me.
No,
I
it didn't it
really
didn't
enjoyed the
detract,
film
it
a
didn't
lot.
detract. I like the movie. Later, people were telling me, "Oh, you shouldn't have done that." I again know people that like the movie, and I know people that didn't like it. I can only say how I felt. I went to see it in the theater, I watched it, and I thought, "Man, this is a pretty good movie." And it was at a time where I had seen I don't know if it was, one of those first class I liked, but then one of the later movies with that cast I didn't like as much, and I already was getting tired of all these, like, not getting tired of all these movies, but I felt like they hadn't done something different or fresh or interesting in a minute. And when I saw Logan, I thought this is pretty cool. I think this is it's a nice send off, for Hugh Jackman, who then returned. But you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. Oh, and I will say too, when they did that first trailer for Logan with Johnny Cash singing his rendition of "Hurt" over it. Holy crap! I was in from the minute seeing that
Yeah,
trailer. I was like,
no,
I am going to go watch this movie.
I I'm
It's
with you. I
so
mean,
good.
listen, I told you that I especially liked Wolverine, so for me, it's obvious that I'm there, like, the day this starts playing, I'm there in the theater. That's exactly what I did. Absolutely enjoyed the movie. I'm trying to think to myself, I haven't watched it in a million times since, but I did like the movie, and it gave me a good feeling. I liked it better than I liked Fury Road. Mad Max Furiosa, I saw that in the theater. If it wasn't in the Mad Max universe, if it was just a movie that you called something else and not try to tie it to that original, series of movies, maybe I would have thought it's an interesting kind of, story for whatever it is. But somehow the fact that they wanted to be part of the Mad Max world, but it's not Mad Max, just overall didn't work for me. It just
Mhm.
it's not a terrible movie, but the whole concept of it, and it's tying of that movie to the franchise is what makes it kind of annoying, unfortunately.
Mm.
But technically, it's not the worst movie.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
as for Daredevil, which I think we were talking about,
Yeah,
I think
we can
that
get
these
back to Daredevil. Yeah.
first 2 episodes, they are the closest thing you're gonna get to that kind of Netflix feeling of shows like Daredevil, and maybe Punisher for season 1. This is as close as you're gonna get to that. That it's, like, not insulting you, it feels a little more mature, and, like I said, Matt Murdock and Vincent D'Onofrio deliver big time in their comeback. Those are they're so good in those roles that they overcome any potential issues
Yeah.
that have been there until
Yeah.
now, relatively minor issues, but let's see where the show goes.
Yeah. Yeah. So if I
And I have something to tell you.
yes.
The lady that's, there's another lawyer who works with Matt now.
Mhm.
I don't know, I thought she was initially, like, the DA working against him, but then I thought that they recast her, and then I thought she left the show, but then she suddenly was in the show, so I'm really confused as to what happened with all these reshoots.
Mhm.
I believe that I once met that actress at
Yeah.
a cocktail party.
Cool.
And I talked to her, and, I suspect I could be wrong, I could be totally wrong. I'm about 90% sure that I have her email.
Ooh.
Not that it really matters. I don't know why I got her email. I think she gave me her email. I don't know why. I have her email. I don't know, I don't know if I ever talked to her after that. I don't know why. I just remember having her email. So there's that.
Cool.
I'm 90% sure that's her. And if it's who I think it is, she told me, like a naughty story. Not a naughty story. That's please scratch that.
Ooh.
I want to take that back,
Woohoo.
remove that from the record. Not a naughty story, a gossipy story about like, I mentioned somebody that I knew in the entertainment industry, something, and she was telling me, "Oh, that person, you wouldn't believe what that person did," and then gave me a bit of gossip that until today, I was really kind of shocked by this gossip. Like, it felt really weird to me, and, I don't know. And I believe it was this actress. I know this is
Hmm.
all weird, it sounds probably bizarre, my life is very strange, but it is what it is. So, yeah, that is something that I what was she wearing, Joshua Calkins? I think she was wearing white. That's what my processor is bringing, like, I'm accessing the file. I feel like whatever she was wearing was sort of white. I don't know if it's a white dress or white something. It's like a cocktail party. Uh, that's the most I can remember. But yeah, I did actually, meet her at some point. 90% sure. I'm gonna actually do research on it. I'll research it this week and see if I can, like, at least based on my own, records or files or even, I usually have a way of being able to find out, so I wanna see. Was it a P. Diddy story? No, it wasn't a P. Diddy story. It was something that had to do with, if this is the actress that I think, she had just been on Broadway, and she was sort of very well, or some performance she did on Broadway was well received. Can you check if this actress has a background in Broadway? What's her name? It was something like, is it Letitia James or something like that? I feel like isn't that which is the one that keeps wanting to bother Trump? Is that Letitia James?
Oh, yeah. I think
What's
that's
this? I'm probably confusing. I'm the worst. I am the worst person ever. Why can I not remember people's name or do anything properly? Uh, Nikki M. James. That was her name. Yes, Nikki M. James.
Mhm.
So this is the actress.
Yeah.
Sure looks like the one that I met. I'm telling you, I'm like 90% sure. And now, let me see for a second. Was she on Broadway? Theater. Let's see. Did she get any kind of? Uh, James has performed in the popular stage musicals The Book of Mormon, Les Miserables, and Suffs, earning a Tony Award for Best Features Actress in a musical for The Book of Mormon. I told you she was in plays, right?
Yeah.
She was a Tony Award winner. I think this is the one. I think this confirms it. Now I went from like 90% to 95%. So yes, she told me the gossipy story about somebody. It wasn't Diddy or whoever was asking me in the chat, but it's this lady, and then people are like, "Yeah, come on, this is an actress in New York. That's the AG in New York." So I
Mhm.
confused them. They do have similar names. What am I gonna do?
Yeah, I was just looking at her IMDb. Um, yeah, she's been in a number of productions. She was in Severance. I
She
thought,
was?
yeah, she was in Severance as for 4 episodes as
I didn't even remember.
yeah character named a name that if I said it out loud, it would set off people's
Don't say it then.
Amazon assistants in their home.
I see. I understand. Matthew Marcillo, Price of Reason, The Secret Hollywood Files coming soon from Netflix to you and YouTube. Uh, it's funny that you should say that because once what happened was is that I was somewhere that had to do with books or something like that, and there was a woman from a publishing company, and I told her a bit about what my job was, like what are the certain things that I've done as part of my job, and I kind of gave her a few examples of strange situations that I was in. We were just kind of talking, and she said to me something like, "Wow, like these stories could actually be like an interesting book." But the thing is that I don't like, I don't mind hanging out with you guys and sharing, and sometimes I'm sort of I share what I think is like harmless, you know what I'm saying? But if I really wrote a book and started writing like more dirt or things that I've seen like more like that, I don't know, it doesn't feel right to me. In some situations, there's at least some situations that people trusted me, and maybe I was involved in some business deal or something like that, and for me to go and like blab about it, like about certain things, I don't feel great about that. So I don't know. The things that I say here in our things are harmless. I don't feel like I'm harming anybody.
Mhm.
So that's that. Professor?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, you disappeared.
No, no, no. I wasn't sure if you're finished or not. Um, so
Somebody's like, Price was born a poor black boy in rural. What am I, the jerk?
no,
uh,
that's funny.
no, I wasn't. I didn't. I wasn't. But yeah, I've said it before. I used to have situations where there would be events that would need talent, and I would be involved in that, in setting that up at events, and sometimes in event productions and things like that, either organizing event, producing events, and because of like my line of work and the kind of things I did, eventually for different reasons, I would sometimes get invited to more like industry events, and there were some years that I was more involved in that. So that's why it's happened to me on many occasions that I've been at these kind of events or cocktail parties or whatever it is, and probably relatively speaking, considering that I'm not like some big shot or important guy in the industry, the amount of like mingling I've done with industry people is actually very high. Like
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
unreasonably high for who I am. uh, but it gave me an insight. You know what I mean? It was it's all experiences that I feel like they gave me an insight as to how this industry works.
yeah. Get to have some exposure to that. That's certainly not anything I've ever had. So,
I understand.
Yeah.
Like, and to even top that off, that like prior to that, I was like, like I said, I lived in the East Village at some point, and I was very kind of no, I don't want to use it. I don't. I was up with the trends and the trendy locations of the East Village and things like that, and I guess there was a window of time first, and when I was a bit younger, and then when I was already like more just getting into my career and things like that, there were moments that like there were trendy things happening, and I was like exactly, in New York City in that trendy sort of I don't want to say lifestyle because I think that when I'm not at an event and when I wasn't at an event like this, it's not like I'm all like snooty and trendy, but somehow like I found my way to a lot of places that were considered like, happening or whatever it is. It doesn't mean anything at the end. I mean, you were saying, Professor, that you live far away from it. You haven't really missed anything. The only thing that I think is interesting is that it sort of gave me a window to kind of you learn a lot about how the industry works by having these experiences.
Yeah.
More than anything, like you get the vibe of some of these celebrities. Some of them nicer than others, but like when we talk sometimes about the bubble and about like stuff things like that, I was there like front and center. Like I've seen like how the bubble works. So I don't know, interesting, intriguing, if nothing else. But
Yeah.
back to whatever it was. I'm gonna shut down. It's not Letitia James. It's Nikki James.
Yeah, Letitia
95
James is the
95% sure and she was wearing white in my opinion. I don't know why she was wearing white. 95% sure. I even believe that I have her email. I'm even 95% sure of that. And after this stream, I'm going to see if I can find it. Not that I'm going to share it with you all, but I'm just wondering. I don't even remember why I have her email or if I even ever emailed her. This is all now. Now it's like research that I have to do.
Mm.
The only thing I remember is that the story that she told me that I do remember. But never mind. Back to Daredevil. Uh, Drew Gordon said she was an angel. Not with that story. But yeah, okay. Daredevil. Final thoughts, Professor.
Yeah, so, overall, so, kind of, as we said, the episode as like I said, the first episode is the one I saw completely. I was impressed. I thought they kept the episode very tight. They told a really constrained story. They didn't get too ridiculous with it. They made sure that it felt very grounded. You felt like you were spending time with these characters really really in their skin and learning like, where they are in the world right now. You got to spend plenty of time with Matt Murdock, learning what his life and situation is like now, a year on after the tragedy that he's experienced, and him feeling like he crossed a line, living a life as Daredevil, and so kind of stepping back away from living that life and focusing on being an attorney. You get to see him, dealing with his loss, dealing with this tragedy, even a year on later as he's moved on, and he's working with a new partner and a new law firm, and also like as I said, you get to see a lot of Wilson Fisk. You see a lot of him dealing with some of the stuff that he's had to deal with in his life that we've seen in a couple of the other series, which I wish they had just forgotten they existed. But uh, you get to see you get to see him, his relationship with his wife, him running for office, and how he's taking this turn in his life to actually run for office and become mayor. And then the dynamic between Murdoch and Fisk as they sort of face off in the diner. Again, you get to see that in the trailer. I thought that was done extremely well. Sort of the verbal sparring and the barbs kind of back and forth, trying to feel each other out as to, you know, who they are now, how things have changed since they've last dealt with each other. That was all done really well. And overall, I was really impressed with the cinematography in that first episode. When the camera is a character, you can feel it in the way that it's shot and used to highlight sort of these different characters and their positions in the world and their emotions and how they're dealing with things right there. Honestly, I really enjoyed this first episode. I hope that they keep that up for the remainder of the series. If they do, this is going to be an excellent show. Um, Someone in the chat said, "Is Fisk Trumpian?" Uh, there's definitely some vibes there of a oh yeah, he's an outsider coming in, everybody's cheering him on because, oh well, he was a businessman, so he's going to come in and
They're definitely going
changes
for
things.
that. They're
There
definitely
is
the
absolutely there, absolutely
the only
is part of the character.
the
Yes.
only thing is that I will say this, they've already built up that Wilson Fisk is this guy, so nothing they say is out of character for Wilson Fisk. I guess what I'm saying is they didn't change the character of Wilson Fisk so he would be like a Trumpian type of character, but I can't say that there isn't an underlying feeling that if nothing else, they relish the fact that they could do this with this character, knowing that there's a sort of correlation in their mind with their TDS to Trump. But since A, I don't have TDS, it doesn't matter. And two, nothing that Fisk does until now is out of character for him. You know what I mean? Like him acting the way he's acted in this episode, in these two episodes, is exactly the way he would act. The only part
Yeah.
that annoyed me was actually not the Trumpian thing, but just the wife that she had an affair. I don't know why this
Yep.
annoys me. This bothers me because the way that they presented him and the relationship with her in the previous seasons didn't look like that's where the relationship was heading. This was a Kevin Feige weird the cucking, whatever you want to call it. I don't like
Yeah.
that crap. So
Yeah.
hard for me to ignore it. I don't love it, but it's a minor thing in a show that's overall doing a lot of things really well. So I'll give it a chance and I'll accept it, even though I don't love that aspect of it. But that's about like a 5% thing that I don't like, and the majority of it I actually like.
Hmm.
Somebody asked me a question, and I guess I have to answer this. Uh, uh, I don't have to, but I'll answer anyways. Price, did you ever go to the annual Halloween parade here in New York? And were you the puppet at the time? Okay. I haven't been to one of those in a very long time. I actually I generally speaking, when there's a parade, when there's a big day and everybody wants to go out and be part of a parade, those are the exact days that I like being at home. I don't like going like to a place where it's just full of people and it's just overcrowded and annoying. Those things like annoy me. It's kind of like, some people they're like, don't you want to go out on New Year's Eve? And it's like, not really. I generally don't love going out on New Year's Eve. New Year's Eve, it's like people that have never had a beer, never had wine, never know what to do, and they're all out like, millions and millions of them. They're all just drunk and annoying. And everything costs like 7 times what it would cost normally. There's a bunch of drunk people that don't know how to hold their liquor around you. And all of them, sorry, I know I sound like the most annoying snooty person, but this annoys me, all these people. So that's the day that I don't love going out. And still, Matthew Marcillo, years ago, and this is, I'd say in my mid 20s, when I was living in the East Village, I had a friend who was an actress. And I went to some school, one of those, it was Stella Adler, one of the, I don't know, remember one of those. And she loved these stupid parades. I don't know how she twisted my arm, and she's like, "Listen, and like you have to come with me and a few." Well, I know how she twisted my arms. It was her and a few other actresses, and they really wanted to hang out and go to this stupid parade. And if a few women show up that like are not the worst looking, and they and they, and they want to go to a parade somehow. I'm ashamed of myself, but that's probably the reason. I'm also in my mid-20s at this point. I was more like, I had a more, like, positive vibe, I guess. So I went to the parade because of the actresses, and, as far as my costume, I wasn't Price of Reason then, so there was no puppet to bring with me. What I did, though, I don't know why I had a hat like a Merlin hat, like, you know what a Merlin hat looks like? That,
Sure,
like,
sure, yeah.
long whatever that thing is? I had that, and that was all that I wore. It's not like I even had a whole costume of Merlin. I had that hat, and, that's how I went. It was
You heard it,
awesome.
folks. Price went stark naked to, the parade with just a Merlin hat on. It
No,
was
I wore,
quite
like I had this, like, dark trench coat, I
he
had
went stark naked with a trench coat and
I had this kind of trench coat on and this, like, even, like, button-down shirt. I looked pretty kind of, like, on top of my game. That was also at a time where, if there was ever a time, as best I was ever gonna look, it was probably, like, that era, when you're in your mid-20s. It's not gonna get better than that usually.
Hey, look,
So,
trust me,
in
you
any
were
case,
not the only guy walking around New York in nothing but a trench coat and a wizard's hat, okay?
I
That's
wore a trench coat and a wizard hat, and I was at that Halloween parade with, like, I think 3 actresses. And this all happened, sometime, I wanna say mid-2000s. It was oddly, it was around the time of the famous meeting that people always bother me with, the Leslie Headland thing. It was not far apart. Those were the days where, like, as social as I was gonna get in New York and these kind of silly places, that was as social I was gonna get. So, yeah, and I actually, not that I could ever really share it, but I do have a picture. Interestingly, there's a picture of me from that day
Mhm.
with the Merlin hat and the trench coat.
Very nice. We do have
People
one
ask if
more we do
well
have
well,
another super chat. We got a super chat from Nerd Wars if you wanna pull that up.
"Hey, Nerd Wars. Uh, my favorite part of the address when that crazy old" let me say, oh, I like Erwin is great. You should check out his channel if you haven't already. My favorite part of the address was when that crazy old pimp got kicked out. It's true. He did look like a crazy old pimp because
He's
he had the
waving
cane.
his
He
gold cane
his gold
around.
cane. He did. There's nothing. I think that is the perfect description. Unfortunately, he did look like that. Kicked out 3 minutes into the speech. About to watch Born Again, fingers crossed. So, yeah, Born Again, I think it's good. I had my few comments about it. We didn't spoil things here. I think it's good, worth a watch. And yeah, that pimp was crazy. Uh, I think he just embarrassed himself. All these people are just embarrassing, and I was embarrassed for him, even though I don't even like him.
Oh, it's all grandstanding, you know? It's just all, like, trying to get attention. He's ridiculous. It's kinda sad.
Price the
Kinda
Merlin,
sad, kinda
deeply
pathetic.
embedded in Greenwich Village of New York lore. Yeah, I mean, I was. Uh, in any case, I thought that was actually funny. That had to have been the funniest part of the speech. But also, I thought that the parts that then he's like, these Democrats are sitting here, they'll never cheer, they always look miserable. That's what they like to do. Like, I don't know, that was kind of funny too. And then he's
Yeah.
like,
And near the end if you didn't see the part, he says, "Do you want this war to go on for 5 more years? I know Pocahontas wants it to keep going." It, like, points.
at that point, he just didn't care already. He's funny.
Oh, it was good.
So yeah, thanks, Erwin. You made me laugh. I was looking for a way to describe how I felt about that guy that interrupted, and I think that your description is absolutely perfect. So
Uh, the
yeah,
far less talented Al Green.
yeah, that's the thing. He's ruining he's ruining the reputation of all Al Greens.
Yeah.
Like Al Green is a name that used to mean something. You knew you were getting like songs that like immediately, if you ever wanted to put like, you're with a lady and you want to, create a certain mood, Al Green songs were like very, very good for that
Mhm.
purpose. Now, like instead of thinking of those songs, you think of this like whatever Irwin was saying, like some pimp with a golden cane or whatever it was.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
it's
ridiculous.
bonkers.
Yep. Yep. It was something.
Yeah, at the end of the day, he only added some kind of comic relief to the story. It's not like
Yeah.
I don't think anybody's looking at this and thinking, "Wow, you're so great." You know what I mean? Like, I don't think this guy scored any real points with anybody. And
No,
if
no,
he's going to
not at
be their
all.
big hero, then go ahead. Let them. He can be the poster child of their resistance or whatever that is.
If that's if that's what they want.
Hypnocrab, and then she clapped. Who clapped?
Oh no, yeah, Pocahontas. She like sort of half laughed and clapped when he
Oh wow.
pointed and joked about her wanting to keep fighting the war in Ukraine.
Lisa, yeah, I caught most of the speech. It's just because of all the daredeviling. I only saw I knew that we were like running late and the speech was running a bit late, so I had to like dip out in the final minutes there. But
Yeah.
I got like the majority of it, and Professor filmed me in.
We
Mar
had to divide up our duties now. We didn't even coordinate. We just I ended up sticking with the speech and then just finishing squeezing in that one episode of Daredevil, and Price was squeezing in both episodes of
right.
Daredevil.
I squeezed in the 2 Daredevils, and then only I actually watched the speech as it was happening, but then at some point I said, "Okay, you gotta stop now, watch the Daredevil." And then after the Daredevil, I still had a little bit of time, so I went and then, like, continued to watch. I caught most of it, but, yeah, there were a few moments, especially in the later in the game, that I missed, but I got the main idea, and, like you said, you were able to watch it, what I didn't, I watched what you didn't. We didn't even coordinate it. Marvin Gaye Marvin Gaye was awesome. Marvin Gaye had like a voice,
Oh,
uh,
amazing voice.
just like a perfect voice. I don't know if you've ever noticed it. They have something that they like isolated Marvin Gaye's voice. So there's a video somewhere where you can like hear him sing, let's say through the grapevine, but instead of
Mhm.
like hearing the music, you just hear
Huh.
his voice. Now today there's all these like, things that you could put on your voice, all these effects. You can do auto tuning. You can do a lot of different stuff. Um, I'm not hating on anybody that uses some of these things, but I will say that a lot of like very rich professional artists in the studio, they rely on this kind of stuff. And when you hear Marvin Gaye, when you hear him do this kind of like when they remove the music and you just hear him sing, his singing is perfect. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
he's better than the auto tune machine. He's just like just impeccable singing. That's how good
Oh
that guy was.
God, I hate autotune so much. It's
I mean, I'll tell you what, it's a tool that I don't completely hate, and I'll tell you why. There have been cases, where maybe I had a sore throat or something like that. And I had to sing, and there's certain ways of like effects or different things where maybe you could gently do it. I'm not talking about the thing where it sounds like a robot. You know what I mean? Like
Yes.
I'm saying that there's ways of correcting notes, of correcting things. I don't think that like if not abused, I don't think that there's I don't hate it. If it's something very subtle and it's not like really big time influencing it, it's just doing a little bit of repair work. I don't mind it that much. But today we have artists that like you don't even know what their singing voice sounds like because it's all like it sounds like some weird auto-tuned robot It almost doesn't sound like a person. That's why when you hear an AI song today, you don't even know if it's AI or not, because the singers themselves sound like that with all those weird effects.
Yeah, it's but there's so many artists now that they can't even really perform live because they can't go to a concert because they don't actually have control over their voice to actually sing well, live in front of a crowd. They can only do it in a studio where they can tune their voices up to make them pitch perfect. They just we just don't have that same talent, that you would have with someone like Marvin Gaye was just an incredible talent. Yeah.
I want to this thing, and that'll be one of the things that we can start. Are we close to wrapping up? We're
Yeah, I think
getting
so.
there. So this will be a good kind of final note to bring it together. Let's see where it is. Grapevine. Oh, I think this is it. I hope this is the right one. Okay. I don't know why the quality is so bad. That's really sucky. I want to see this in good quality, and nobody bothered to do it. Like,
Hmm.
oh well. I'll wait. Let me see. Is this a better quality, or is this also?
Don't know. Can't see it.
Okay, hold on one second. I'll find it. I promise. I guess there's only shitty quality. Sorry, Sean. I'll choose the one that I guess is the
Yeah.
one that people are listening to.
While you're fixing that there, I do want to do one thing. I want to give a little shout out. Rest in peace to the voice actor George Lowe. I heard earlier today that he had passed. I love George. He was a great comedian, amazing voice. He was, among other things, he was the voice of Space Ghost. When they redid the Space Ghost Coast to Coast and the various other series that they used Space Ghost on Cartoon Network in the early to late 2000s. Uh, he was a really funny guy. He was hilarious, both in the booth and actually out in front of the camera. There's actually when they were doing early promotions for Space Ghost Coast to Coast and some of the other revival things on Cartoon Network. We're talking to a guy, he's just a voice actor, right? He put on the Space Ghost costume and went out to conventions and would do interviews and stuff like that. And he was hilarious. And just real sad to hear. I know he had been struggling with some health issues for a couple of years now, and he's been in a retirement home dealing with severe health issues. And I heard he passed a couple of days ago. So rest in peace, George Lowe. Just an incredible talent. And yeah, if you want to go see it, go on YouTube and look for a George Lowe Space Ghost, and there's some videos of him actually dressed up as the character, playing him just in front of the camera, and he's so fun and so great, like just riffing on whatever the reporters were doing and everything. That it was really funny. So yeah, I was real sad to hear that earlier today. He was a great talent. Maybe not one of the biggest people in front of the camera, not as famous as some of the other actors that we've lost in recent days, but someone that I would miss nonetheless. So yeah, rest in peace, George.
Hold on. First of all, yes, absolutely. And the other thing is, was looking at some comment. I'm trying to find out how they got to it. Who can sing? Yes, she can sing. What are they talking about?
Mm.
Nancy Pelosi, I don't think that she could sing up anything. Uh,
With enough auto tune, they can make anybody sing.
so Drew Gordon, Matthew Marceau. When I first heard Cher's "Believe," I was in another country. I thought it was a boy band type of male singer. That's kind of funny. Uh, when I first heard Cher, there was another. Okay, that same comment, and then as well, Cher had never used auto tune before. Definitely have a memorable hit in video too. Okay, so just so we just to be able to explain it, in somewhere in the late '90s, a company called Antares or whatever their name is invented the plugin called AutoTune. Now, at the time, what it was supposed to do was it was supposed to correct, like, if you got a note that's not perfect, it would have helped that note like get fixed. It was initially meant for more minor touches, which in my opinion, that's a good tool. Meaning, if a person gives like a great performance and maybe there's a few notes that you can kind of fix to make them a little better if there was a mistake, it's good to have something like that, a tool like that. That's initially what it was created for. Now, what happened is that when Cher, I guess, was singing, maybe one of her notes wasn't perfect. Somebody in the studio there put the plug-in on, and I don't know if this was on purpose or not, but some people say it was an accident. The guy that was trying to fix her note or whatever it was sort of misused the plug-in and just went like all in, like, went to the extreme and here and there and whatever. And that's how she suddenly got this kind of robot effect on her voice. And initially, I think that the producer, like whoever was the producer there, and heard it and said, "Oh, there's a mistake, we'll share. Don't worry about it. Like, we're going to correct it." And apparently, rumor has it that she said, "No, don't. I love this. This is like the best thing I ever heard." And then when like the label itself heard it before releasing any kind of songs, they heard it and they said, "We got to remove this thing. We can't have her sounding like a robot in the middle of the song. This is awful. Like, this is going to be like a disaster for us." And apparently she insisted and she said, "We really want to sound that robot thing. I love it." And then they released it, and somehow, unknowingly, that song helped unleash like a whole generation of crap. Although I don't blame her. I mean, she didn't know. She just thought it sounded cool that her voice was a robot, but it did inadvertently unleash like a whole genre of like harsh auto tuning and robotic singing and all this stuff. And we're probably suffering from that song until this very day. Did you know
It's
that, Professor?
ugh, no, I the auto tune, yeah, like perfect pitch stuff. It just drives me crazy. It's like nails on a chalkboard. Especially, yeah, even that original like song with Cher doing that, like,
It was an annoying song,
no,
but yeah.
I
So
never to
it's an
me it just
annoying. No,
ugh,
but I will say, like, as somebody that's recorded music, sometimes like you have something and you're like, man, that note wasn't perfect. And if there is a way to come by and scrub it or clean it or something, it's not always the worst thing in the world. I'm not saying that there's no justification for having a tool like
yeah,
this.
yeah,
It's convenient. It could help out in a lot of situations, and I'm not against it. I think that once artists started to abuse it, especially like you have, I think somebody, for example, like again, like a Kanye West or those Cudi or whatever it is that we were talking about before, they have some albums that they're singing. And man, those guys don't know how to sing. Like, Kanye, forget about his love of the German mustache man and whatever. He's not a singer. He recorded a full album where he's singing songs. He's not able to sing one song. It's all just like roboty
yeah,
robots.
yeah.
And, yeah, so
Yeah,
not
it's one thing if it's like post-production, it's like, yeah, like you're cleaning up the pitch or somebody, singing something to, to make sure that all the notes are fitting and stuff like that. I get that. But yeah, it was specifically I was saying like the, the overuse of it, the the pitchy stuff like in that belief sounds all roboty and stuff. To me, when they do that, like uh, it sounds to me like what happens with uh, audio if the bit rate gets out of whack, you know, like if you're doing a stream or something and somebody starts quote unquote roboting, right? Where suddenly it has to fit all the notes into a smaller space, all the tones that you have in your voice are sort of separated out and broken out. It sounds to me like something is wrong with it, and it's the same for me. Like if I see a video shown in the wrong aspect ratio, I want to like claw my eyes out. It drives me nuts. Like you were when you were showing that video at the beginning earlier, when you were showing the squished down Zelensky, wide Zelensky, whatever. Like I was watching that going, "Oh God, please let it be over soon," because this having that shown in the wrong aspect ratio drives me nuts.
I couldn't find the original one of him
No, it's
walking
fine.
around.
I just no, it's the yeah, but just like
But
having
you
things
got the
shown in the
idea
wrong.
of what it
Yeah,
was,
exactly.
right?
Yeah.
I have no idea why those Russian people think it's funny when
I
he's
d- I
wide.
I don't get it either.
I don't get it. I don't even sometimes there's, like, Russian humor, and I just don't understand it. See, well, how can I even give 'em an
Yeah,
opinion on their
there's
conflict? I
some
don't even understand their
cultural
humor.
meme thing. Yeah. Oh,
But,
Adam Gray knows what I'm talking about. Yeah, saying things in the wrong aspect ratio. Just yeah.
oh, yeah,
Oh,
I found it annoying too, but maybe not as annoying as you did, but I also found
yeah.
it rather annoying. But let me see if I can share this thing, and this will be like a good, I wanted to show how Marvin Gaye was able to sing with no auto-tune, and this should be just his voice, isolated. So, let's do this. Can you see it?
Hmm.
So I guess this is through the grapevine, and you normally would hear music here, but
So they
instead
just
there's no
use some AI to pull the music out.
This is years ago. I don't know how they did it, but this is I think they actually
Hmm.
had the tracks. They didn't need AI for it at the
Oh, okay.
time.
Hmm.
And now, you know, people that Edman says that
Yeah.
Kanye wouldn't be able to do it, and Adam Gray says Kanye can't tie his shoes. Yeah, I mean, listen, I guess he's all right as a hip hop producer, and some people like his tracks, whatever. I've never been like the biggest fan of his. I thought that as a producer, he was all right. He did whatever he did. You know, recently in recent years, his antics are just annoying. Him having like mental health issues and being a huge kind of like attention seeker, which is really and he has $1 billion, and that's a very bad combination. But yeah. So it's no bother to me. I like some people are like, "Oh, like how do I reconcile this? How will I continue to listen to his music?" I don't have that problem because I don't even listen to it to begin with, so I don't really care. Steve Perry, Lane Staley. Lane Staley is basically one of my favorite vocalists of all time. He's not necessarily the best singer, he's not necessarily the most he is just like you feel his emotions in every note that singer sings. I absolutely he's like, you know, probably no joke, maybe my favorite singer of all time, if not one of my favorites. He would be in like in the top 3, top 5 conversation for sure. Amazing singer for what I like to listen to. He may be an acquired taste. I don't know if it's for everybody, but I thought he was fantastic. Ray Charles is brilliant, just a genius. Freddie Mercury. Yeah, there are a lot of good names were brought up here for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
You didn't yeah, you didn't make it in the industry without really having talent, you know, back then. At least not as a vocalist. You
Yeah,
really had to
no, I
be
mean, because
solid.
back in the day, especially, you didn't have like computers and stuff like that. All this stuff was super expensive to record. Even today it is, but then it was a lot more. And if you rented out a studio, you couldn't bring like a singer that'll like it'll take him 70 years, and you know you need to try to cover up his mistakes every second. If somebody was going to be in the studio, you press record, and that person better deliver like a good performance. A certain level of professionalism was expected of you, which today a lot of artists can get away without having any of it. But yeah, somebody said Celine Dion. Yeah, she's a good singer. But I guess at this point, I think we're in a good place to wrap up. I don't
Yeah.
know where to find all the people from because we both got booted out.
Yeah.
Do you know how we find
Yeah.
them? What do we
No,
do?
I mean, we just all we can do is just shout out the ones we got here that are with us. So, I will have so Rumble keeps a much longer chat log than YouTube does. So I'll have pretty much everybody on Rumble. But then we can kind of call out some others that we can see here in the chat uh, from YouTube. Um, so from Rumble here, we've got Kivo 1961, a regular around here. Good to see you, Kivo. Another regular, Phantom Monk and Pyromancer, also regulars. We had Mafia Matters, Folsom Lockdown. Good to see you again. Elizabeth Quince, Jimmy Nature, Dude Bro Seth 420, another regular. Again, good to see you. We had let's see any others. Mike Yeager, Hypno Crab. Good to see you again, Hypno Crab. And I think that's just about it. So yeah, good to see some regulars joining us over there, and maybe one or two new faces. When it comes to YouTube, we of course have let's see. We've got our mods, Eraserhead and Adam Gray here this evening. Thank you again for modding for us over there on YouTube. We really appreciate it. Matthew Marcillo, Joshua Calkins, the Dead Man, who also had some super chats this evening. Thank you for those. Empress NM, Lisa, Tim Hayes, Drew Gordon. Let's see. Feel free to if you spot any in there that I haven't named yet, Price, you can chime in. Argentum,
Marla Sharendorf was here.
yes, Marla Sharondoff. We had Nerd Wars, and we got a super chat from Nerd Wars this evening. So thank you again for that, Erwin. We've got. Let's see if I can find any other ones. Mars Monkey Max joining us this evening. Good to see you again. Just looking here for other new names. Storm King. Um, yeah, scrolling. Looking to see for some other new names. Lots of lively chat. Lisa, I think I said you, but Lisa, good to see you. Freddie Druger. Gruger. That's a tough one. Uh, don't usually put J's and R's right next to each other. Let's see. Yeah, I'm getting close to the end of the chat here, and I think I got most everyone's names. But let's see. Jonathan Conroy. And yeah, Marla Sharondoff saying I'm here. So yeah, did you see any others in there, Price, that I might have missed? We'll
I don't
say
think.
we got some go back and just mention again we did get super chats from the Dead Man, Beat Bob Boop chiming in for the first time with a couple of super chats. It's good to see you here. John
John
Riker,
Riker,
Big Ship with 10 Price of Reason live memberships. Once
the
again,
Dead
thank you
Man,
so much, Big Ship, for your support.
the Dead
uh,
Man,
yeah, we also we got some chats from the Dead Man, one from Joshua Culkins, and then the one from Nerd Wars. So thank you
and
again
another
for
one
all your
from
support
Bebop Boop.
this evening. Yeah.
Really great, everybody. Really appreciate it. I mean, we just. I always say it. We love hanging out with you guys, and we love the conversations and everything we do, and the fact that you also even show that kind of support. I don't take it for granted. And thank you guys for hanging out here, and thank you, Professor, for joining me every time when we
Yeah,
do
good to
these
be here.
streams. And we'll be here on Thursday for another Night Owl. So I
Yeah, and who
guess
knows what crazy stuff's gonna happen for us to
we
talk
just
about
don't know at
between
this
here and
point.
there.
Who knows?
We
But we'll see
might
what
get on who knows? We might go on a long extended chat about, Robert Palmer or something. Who knows?
happens. All right. Well, I guess good night to everybody, and we'll see you next time.
Alright, take care, everybody. Thanks for
Take
being
care.
here.
Bye.